Hey, this is Veronica Taylor, and from myself and Ash Ketchum, you're listening to Southern Fried Geekery.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast. As usual, I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
I'm Craig Lance.
I'm Sean. And I'm Jerry.
And we are back for another Sunday dinner around the nerd table. Really excited. Or I guess the geek table, I should stay on brand. I'm just failing. Sean's giving me the stank eye. So first of all, how has everyone's week been?
Long as fuck.
I think that's the general consensus.
Yeah.
Mine hasn't been bad.
Yes, yeah.
They finally put me on the phones this week, so that's been interesting.
Oh, cool.
But I did go to that Paranormal Expo yesterday, and I had all my, bad mojo cleansed and everything. It was pretty...
It hardly said that you guys got your...
Yeah.
I don't think it worked because you're still you.
Yeah, well, it happens.
I'm just kidding.
My computer went out this week, and the good thing was is I'm on a new computer,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to get my database for my old software backed up so I could put it on that, because I found out that my backup wasn't backing up the database, just the jobs. So the last backup to my database was over 2 years old.
Oh, shit.
So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I'm just going to put my old hard drive in there, and hopefully I can get it booted up and back up. Work, no problems. I'm like, fuck it. I'm leaving my old hard drive in there and going on about my life.
Yeah.
And it worked, so I didn't have to start over or anything. So
Nice.
I should focus on the positive. I had some fun this week, but we'll get into that here in a minute.
And I got to have drinks with an NAACP Image Award-winning poet the other night, and that was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was really cool. Had a great time. He was in as a visiting writer to the university that I attend, and we went out and had very delicious adult beverages and great conversation. As you guys know, we talk about things that are kind of current continuity, current happenings in comics and everything else, so the show is inherently going to have some spoilers, so if you hear us beginning to talk about something that you haven't seen but you want to, or you haven't read but you want to, take a pause for the cause and go read that thing and then come back. So if you want to follow our exploits and everything else that we do, you should come check out our social media page, because we're on there almost all the time and doing some really fun stuff. We're posting news, going over the happenings in the nerd world, just this, that, and the other. And we also get to interact with you guys a lot, folks out there in Radio Land that we've really come to know, love, and enjoy speaking to on using social media the right way. And so as part of that, Sean is kind of our social media guru and really just has done a lot with that platform, especially Facebook. But we're not only on Facebook, we're also on Twitter and Instagram. We're at SFG Podcast. You can email us southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. And then you can come visit us kind of everywhere else. But Sean, why don't you tell folks a little bit about what you're doing with our Facebook page?
Well, I'm still sticking with my New Year's resolution of doing a drawing every day for the entirety of this year.
Yeah.
And you guys have been really good about sending requests for my drawings to kind of keep it interesting, instead of me just drawing whatever's in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So had a lot of fun with that. I've also been posting my horror movie marathon we talked about last episode.
Yeah.
Every day I'm watching a new to me horror movie, just going on to a horror list, and the first one I haven't seen I watch. And I post what movie I'm watching on our Facebook, and then after the movie I'm doing a video review, a short review on YouTube.
Cool.
That's my thoughts of the movie.
Now are you sharing those YouTube things to the Facebook page, or you just leave them on YouTube?
Just on YouTube.
Cool.
I try to mention that to come check it out.
Yeah.
But it's an exclusive to YouTube content, because we got some subscribers. Our subscriber count has gone up.
Very cool.
But we need more.
Yeah, get on there and
out there to
subscribe to our YouTube page. It's kind of cool.
It's been really fun, and so it's been keeping my days pretty busy. So let's run down that list real quick.
have you stabbed any horror movies on your...
I have not.
YouTube?
I have not stabbed. There's been plenty of stabbings in the horror movie. I'll get into that in my pick of the week for sure. But we'll start with the drawings. Sunday, which was the last day of September, was a request of all of us as our favorite characters podcasting.
Very cool.
I think it went over very well.
It was great.
A lot of people seemed to like it. That was requested by one Tyler May.
Very nice. We all made it our social media platform pictures for a little bit.
Yeah, that was everyone.
Mine still is.
Yeah.
Because he might have shown.
Craig. Craig ain't using no bitch ass temporary profile change.
There's that too.
There is that.
It's just because he doesn't know how
Details. I may not either. What's your point? Show Jared. After that, we kicked off the beginning of October with first a drawing requested by our friend Brian Thompson. He requested The Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt, which that also was the day I started the horror movie marathon. The first one up was The Third Eye, horror movie from Thailand.
Oh, okay.
You want to know more about it? Go check out our YouTube channel. Day 2 was, keeping the horror theme actually going, was Gozer the Gozerian from Ghostbusters. That was requested by one Megan Burns.
Nice.
Hey, Megan.
You know Megan?
Yeah.
Person. Awesome. I've only seen her on this. Then that same night, I watched a movie called Delirium, another movie from Thailand. Again, you can check that out on my reviews and thoughts on that movie on our YouTube channel. After that, I had Kiddie Pool. That is a kitty. That is Deadpool.
They could have gone so many ways.
I know, right? Well, you can thank one Stephanie Straw for that request.
You should have done a giant swimming pool full of kids.
Just drawing one of those cheap plastic ones you buy at like the Dollar General and stick in the backyard.
I would, but she was very thorough. In her
Yeah, I
explanation.
know. She did a very good description.
And it was a very fun drawing. I enjoyed it. So
Sorry, I used my artistic interpretation.
right. The movie for that night was also Phobia 2.
Okay.
After that, the next day, I got requested to do Char Aznabel.
Char Aznabal from the original Gundam series. He's the main antagonist.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Pokemon.
His last name always threw out from my head when I was trying to say it.
There's been a lot of Charmander and Charmeleon fan art of people drawing those Pokemon as him.
It's like the fourth evolution of
Yeah.
whatever that little weird fire donkey thing is.
Is Pokemon still a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was requested by one Matthew Buchanan. The movie that night was Terrifier, and that one is my pick of the weekend.
Oh, cool.
If you like blood, guts, gore, and clowns, go watch this fucking movie. It delivers on all accounts.
I'm out.
Brutal.
Guess we don't have to watch the YouTube video for that one.
Yes. Not like you did anything. Well, I did see that one dislike. I had to say.
So is that the new one that's out that everybody's been sharing?
It's a recent movie.
Okay, I was wondering what that movie actually was. So
It's worth watching.
Yeah.
It's a pure slasher flick of this uber violence. That's sometimes you just need that in your life. Go check it out.
Was this one still sticking with Netflix?
Yes. All these are available on Netflix until this last one because I'll get into that in a second.
I don't fuck with clowns.
No, you won't after this one either. Oh my
Uh-huh.
god, it was amazing. After that, I was requested to draw my favorite version of Toshihiro Mifune by one Jerry Smith.
That's me.
And I went with his character of Kikuchio from The Seventh Samurai. And I
God
drew
bless you.
Thank you. And I drew him in
That
all
joke
his black
never
and white
gets old.
glory.
It never will, and I'll keep using it. Sorry, Sean.
Drawn in all his black and white glory.
I'm sorry.
The movie that night was Ghost House. And finally, yesterday's drawing was JC and the Wheeled Warriors, as requested by the only man who remembers that cartoon.
Oh, no, no.
I know. I went into the interview.
Yeah, actually found out that we have another Jason
Yes.
World Warrior fan out there.
Yeah, was it Rod Hedrick?
Yeah.
Is a fan of that? Yeah.
Fantastic show.
He owns the DVDs. He's a better fan than you.
Ooh, I know. I just
One day we'll find you with one of those toys on the con, and then you'll be the best.
Craig's just gonna go buy the rights to JC. He's like, you may own the DVDs, but that money comes to me now.
It's got to be like, what, $12?
there's got to be like 4 people in the world that watch it and know what that show is.
I mean, if it wasn't for an 80s cartoon opening montage video, I don't remember that cartoon when I was a kid. That's my era. I don't remember that one at all.
I don't know if I ever saw it. I think you spoke about it on one of our early
For me,
episodes.
it was the toy
Yeah.
line. Castro also remembers watching that.
That was awesome. And the final movie for that day was Deep Star 6. And with this one, I had to go to Amazon Prime because when I started the Netflix thing, it was mainly because you could go on Netflix every day to the same horror list, and they would rotate the movies. They would alter, change based on what you watched. Even if it's only one movie, it would be a different order when I would go the next day. Hadn't been doing that all week.
Oh, nice.
So if you want to see Deep Star 6, a classic movie from the 80s, I don't know if it's on Netflix, it's on Amazon Prime for free if you have the Prime membership. But those are my movies, those are my drawings. I'm still needing requests. I've still got a few lined up, but working through them. I still got a bit of the year left, so if you want to see me draw anything and everything, just hit us up on social media.
Yeah, dude.
Matt's requests for his drawings, not his movies.
Let them live their life, and I'll just get my talent. We'll get one. So disappointed this year.
Great work as always, Sean.
Yeah, no joke. I watched another movie involving a deep six this week, but that's a whole different thing.
Jesus.
So another thing we do on the Facebook page, you guys have
TMI
questions.
when I say it, but when Caleb says
I was
it,
thinking, you got no room sitting over there talking about people talking about horror.
It's adorable when Caleb says it. You just have a creepy face.
Sorry.
When you say it.
Speaking of which, is your Pornhub jacket coming in yet?
Oh my god, I wish.
Marilyn Manson's got a good song called Deep Six out too, but that's also not about fucking or scary things.
It's Marilyn Manson and it's not about fucking. Like 80% of his songs are about fucking.
Or murder. And
fucking
murder.
or murder or both.
Yeah. He's great.
I've seen that movie.
I love him. I love him so much. So another thing we do on our social media page is you guys started asking us questions, and it's been kind of cool because it gives us some stuff to talk about that we otherwise wouldn't. This is a show about geek culture. So, we're four dudes who like things, but we might not necessarily branch out into some of the things that you like or want to hear us talk about. So this provides that platform. And so this week we have two questions, both of which are from our buddy, as Craig previously mentioned his name, from Castro, from our buddy Mike, who is a local tattoo artist and a local hip-hop artist who is, I don't know, he's probably one of the most amazing humans I know.
Yeah.
And I'm also terrified of him because his biceps are bigger than my body.
Because he talks real soft all the time.
Is that what it is?
I think it's when a big dude talks soft all the time, it makes it even scarier.
It can be, yes.
But then he smiles and you're like, yeah, well,
That's
you
scary.
just love this guy.
Sometimes he just wraps me up in his little manly arms. His huge manly arms. And I feel so small. It's great. So he asks, how many times have you watched any Marvel trailer? Now he asked this on the day that the Miss Marvel or the Captain Marvel trailer dropped, and I think a lot of people watch it multiple times. But good question. So Jerry, like how
Iron Man 1.
was that?
I numerous times. I could not even keep count. And it's even crazier because that was before YouTube was like at the palm of my hands.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said,
YouTube, Pornhub.
back whenever we first talked about the Marvel movies and stuff like that, and that was at the end of the Transformers movie.
Right.
I just went and watched it on that like over and over and over again. I'm like, this movie's so good. And it wasn't even like that much. It was literally like the first teaser with him being chased by the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
And not the football team.
I was going
actual
to start
Jets.
singing Biggie and the Jets.
Yeah.
Do it anyway.
I'm old enough to know that I'm probably the only one that would get that real reference.
No, I did.
Jets.
Yeah.
I think Jerry just hit puberty, like right there.
Honestly, I don't go back and rewatch trailers a whole lot, but every now and again, because purposely I go out and seek them, like I have them on tape or something.
Yeah.
But here lately, if a trailer I'm interested in is the ad before my YouTube video or something, then sometimes I don't skip. And I would say the last time that really happened, I really watch every single time was Infinity War,
Yeah.
analyzing that one.
Uh-huh.
I, as a general rule, will only watch the teaser trailer and not watch any of the remaining trailers.
Yeah, I don't watch anything past the first one.
As a general rule on trailers, period, because they start to give away too much information, or you start having a preconceived notion of what the movie's going to be.
Right.
And I want to go into it being shown what the director wants me to see. So, generally, I only watch the first teaser trailer. Sometimes it's Star Wars, I watch all the trailers once, but that's about it. I'll watch them maybe twice for Star Wars, but for the rest of the world, it's
You
one.
said Marvel trailer.
I know, that's why I said
Star Wars is Marvel.
Only old.
there's Star Wars comic books.
There are Star Wars Marvel comics. He's got you there.
I don't believe.
It's all
Go grab one.
it's all the bastard stepchild of Mickey.
So, yeah, everything.
So I probably watched Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm the bastard stepchild.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So I've probably watched the the first Avengers trailer at least 100 times. Like, that's not even an exaggeration. I still go back.
Did you even go watch the movie?
I didn't need to. It's all right there. No, I did, and it's still one of my favorite Marvel movies that came out with. But I'll still every once in a while go back and watch that first Avengers trailer because it's amazing. Like it's the way a trailer should be made for that, especially for that big of a tentpole popcorn fun fest that flick was. It's amazing. It gives you everything. It still gets me excited about seeing the movie, and I've seen the movie probably 100 times. So the first Avengers movie, man, good stuff. So. Our buddy also, Castro also wants to know why, and this is actually a really interesting question about nerd culture on a broader spectrum. So he asks, why do people who only watch the cartoons, TV shows, and movies feel that they know more than people who read the source material or specifically comics?
Because of Big Bang Theory. And I say that halfway joking, but the reality is that when we grew up in nerd/geek culture, it wasn't a cool thing to be a nerd or a geek.
Right.
Now there's a whole lot of people with the acceptance, and this isn't a bad thing, but with the movies out there, there's a whole lot of people that are fans of only the movies or fans of only the television shows. It gets, I understand Mike's question in this because he often tells me about how this guy came in and blah, blah, blah. They acted like they knew everything about it and they've never even read a comic book. And that's frustrating sometimes as a comic book fan. But I just kind of look at it, well, at least they're getting that entertainment in some form or fashion.
I kind of discussed it with him before too. Was like I use the example of the fact I was a Marvel kid, 100%. That's the only comics I read growing up. So a lot of my DC knowledge, specifically Batman knowledge, came from the Michael Keaton movie and the animated series. Which the Michael Keaton movie, like that's why forever I thought Joker killed his parents. I thought that was the canon storyline for Batman.
Yep.
I'll bet you $100 if that's not what happened.
Do I lose again? Because the movie, that's what happened. That's what I'm talking about.
I know. I'm saying it's canon.
I know. We'll do this.
I've
had a lawyer. I was talking about the movie canon.
You keep making these bets with Craig, you won't even have to work.
I know, right? That's my goal.
Craig's going to work for you.
But the difference being, and if any of you are out there listening, thank you for supporting comic books and geekery and nerdom out there by watching the movies. Don't be an asshole when someone who's read the book says that's not how it actually is.
Yeah.
Because the movies is an interpretation, and like I kind of get where Castro was coming from with it. It's like he wants to have a comic book discussion, and all they can do is quote the movies, but you don't got it. But they're being aggressive about that. No. The movie happened like this. Like, yeah, but 30 years of comic book history says it happened like this. So I think that's kind of what he was getting aggravated about.
Yeah.
So like, if you only watch the movies, you only watch the cartoons and TV shows, cool, you're supporting the industry, that's fine. But like, don't argue with somebody if they're talking about the comic book canon that's been established long before these movies.
So I want to take kind of the opposite approach to that. If somebody is just a fan, or they found their way into it because of the films, don't act like an asshole just because that's the only exposure they've had. And if they're talking about, so a lot of times we do a lot of gatekeeping in the geek community. A lot of times because we possess this wide wealth of knowledge that goes back to the comics and the novels and everything else, we really don't want, we get very territorial about it. And if somebody comes in and they're just like, well, they want to talk about the tenets of the movies, which, hey, and with all due respect, the movies are their own continuity. And you can speak to them just like you can speak to the 70 years of the comics. And so if they're doing that, and then you're like, well, these things also happen, and they're like, well, no, a lot of times they're just directly speaking towards the continuity of the films. And as people who have tapped into the broader spectrum of geek culture, we get very, we can get bitchy about.
Well, anybody.
And so
when you are obsessed with something, of course you're defensive about it. And like I said, the little clarifying what I was meaning though was that like I know where this question came from, and it wasn't just somebody going, no. It kind of came across like he was kind of like they were saying, no, you're wrong, your comic books are wrong,
right? Yeah,
no, and that's where he got a little defensive about it. You got to understand, like you said, two different canons. It can be 100%. Be willing, like average comic reader has probably also seen the movies and shows.
Yeah,
average moviegoer may not read the books,
Very
but
most
they
likely
they
hasn't.
need to be open to also hear like, okay, I get you saw the movie,
Yeah.
but check out this comic book. And both sides should be open, right?
Yeah, it's a bridge that people can go both ways on.
Absolutely.
Quit being elitist that the only way to get the entertainment you want is in your chosen format.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of what it is.
All of my friends that don't read comics but are avid fans of the movies always come to me whenever they finish a movie and they're like, "What was this about? What was going on here?" And like I do my best to explain it and everything. But I mean, it kind of goes back to people only watching movies of even novels and stuff like that, and that being their only knowledge of that and stuff like that. So I don't know. That was always kind of my perspective from it, and I was always more of a movie watcher than a novel reader, so that would be my thing. Like, oh, so like, yeah, I love this, and they were like, yeah, that didn't happen in the book. So,
Well, anytime something is an adaptation of something with source material, you have to remember it's just that. It's an adaptation.
Right.
It's basically there as a inspiration and a guide. From little things like Batman's parents being killed by the Joker, that's in there to drive the narrative of that particular story.
Right.
It's if you have 100 movies you're going to make, then you can take the time to explain Joe Chill and all of that. But if you're making 3 movies, you're going to go, okay, well, the quickest route to have all of that happen and have the same emotional impact is to have the villain of this movie be that same person.
Right.
And so it's because it's an adaptation and an interpretation. It's not a retelling of the same source material.
Well, and don't take what I said and get me wrong. I get frustrated as fuck when people come up to me, like anybody comes up and they try to argue down a point, or they try to tell you that you don't know what you're talking about when you very handily do. I'm just saying that as people who have the ability to do a fair amount of gatekeeping, we have to, as fans, acknowledge that is our position. And so sometimes you have to be a little bit more level-headed about it and open that gate in the best way. Because one thing that the movies haven't done, as proliferate as they've been, as monetarily extreme as they've been, they haven't brought a lot more people to the source material. They haven't brought droves of people into comic shops or into comicbookdiscountservice.com or into any other way to read comics. And so when somebody comes up and they want to talk to you about this superhero movie or this, and they want to argue, well, no, that's not what happened in the movie, but no, okay, but I'm talking about the comics. That's a good way to say, hey, like, come read this. So our local comic shop has a 50% off bin for trades. I buy at least one, probably every 2 weeks, just something from there, because it never fails. I have these conversations, and like I spend like maybe $10-15 on a thick book. I can read it, enjoy it once, but if I'm talking to somebody and they're like, oh, well, hey, I heard Batwoman's going to be in this new Flash series, which she is, that starts this week, I think. I don't know when she's coming out, but that always shows, CW shows are kicking back on. And they've never read it. I can just be like, here, like it's $10, like take this and go read it. Like here, welcome to my world, come in. Like, and then we can go to the comic shop, and then we can, like, you know, then you can be a bigger fan of this thing. And so I just think it's important to remember that we are in that position, and we can either scare people away or we can invite them to be part of our community. And honestly, our community needs more voices. So that's kind of where I stand on it.
No, I agree. Absolutely. And typically, like I said, when I have a lot of coworkers who like comic movies, they don't read. So they come to me. They tell me, you see this movie, what do you think of this? You know, and I try to steer them towards the books, but you can't make an adult read easily.
No, it's true.
They've already hit their adult life to where they're working a regular job. It's hard to, but you know, Caleb had the right idea though. It's a lot easier to get someone to read a book and you're like, here's the book right here.
Mm-hmm.
It takes out buying, takes out going out to look and figure out what you want. Like, here, check this out.
Well, and if they read that and they fall in love with it, then they're going to seek out more.
Exactly.
You know, you can also tell them to go watch The Big Bang.
You can tell them to watch that. This is syndication.
I just wanted to say that so I could see Craig roll his eyes.
I honestly, I don't have a problem with Big Bang Theory.
I still think it's hilarious.
The thing about Big Bang Theory is that it presents geek culture sometimes in not the most positive light.
Hey, we're
But-
big nerds. Look at us. Aren't we crazy?
When has it-
Quirky?
Legitimate question. We can actually sit on this question now for a little bit. When has it? Like, when have we ever had a proper representation in film, cinema,
No.
or anything? Because Revenge of the Nerds is what really started the whole
Right.
nerd thing. Like, I wonder if we've ever actually gotten to where like show a nerdy person in a positive light.
I mean, what about half Kevin Smith's movies?
But they're also shown as almost that gatekeeper-ish kind of troll.
That's
you know?
true, yeah.
So Big Bang Theory makes an attempt to show in positive light.
Yeah.
To show us in a positive light. But they also make it look like we're all, 40-year-old virgins that have, never came out of
None of us.
out of our mom's basements a little bit too, So it's very stereotypical, and that's fine. It is
Yeah.
what it is. I don't watch it on a regular basis. When I do watch it, I laugh. So
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be upset if they had a sexier like nerd, somebody in there who also can show, hey, you can be a sports fan. 'Cause, I'm a sports fan, comics fan. I like all of these worlds, and so they are dipping into a stereotypical role. But the flip side of that is I can watch a show like Big Bang Theory, and I can like equate somebody I know in real life to every single one of those characters.
oh yeah,
It may be only showing one side of it, but it's not
I mean
unreal.
Matt is legit the press comic
Oh,
book store owner.
absolutely.
I was going to say, everyone has in their local comic book shop a Captain Sweatpants.
Oh, for sure. For sure. All right. Well, so we are going to be at Comic Conway on November 2nd through the 4th. It's a local con in Central Arkansas. I think on the 2nd it takes place at the Conway.
Faulkner County Library.
Yeah, the Faulkner County Library. That's actually a free event, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's free to get in, and I think they're going to raffle off some weekend passes.
Yeah, that's very cool. And the weekend passes are like $10. So it's not $10 for 2 days.
Yeah.
The 3rd and the 4th, it's set up at the Faulkner County event Metroplex thing. You can go on their Facebook site. They've got the address there.
That's the Conway Expo Center.
Yeah.
Is what the con's going to be at.
I love you, Jerry.
It's super affordable con.
Yeah.
Great place for kids to be able to go.
It's always been a good turnout for vendors of variety. You get crafting, you get comics, you get toys, collectibles, you get a lot of. I feel you get a lot of stuff at this con.
And you get a lot of comic creators actually there. And that's one thing that we've been to 2 cons collectively in the past, 2 months?
Yeah.
Overall, they haven't been that great as far as people who actually make comic books.
Right.
There's been a lot of other stuff, but not that. And so Comic Conway always gets some really, really good creators. And for $10, you get to go see these people at a smaller con, which means you get to talk to them, hang out, spend too much money. It's a thing. I'm looking forward to it though. But we're going to be set up there. You can come by and get some free swag that we have because Craig is amazing and he's got us all free swag. We are going to be selling our T-shirts that we have. Want to say Jerry and Craig both posted pictures of it on our Facebook page of what our T-shirts look like. They're fucking amazing. I'm very proud of them. So again, thank you, Craig.
Yeah, they came out really good.
But so Craig had an idea. The shirts are really the only thing that I think we're asking money for, and we're selling them for what'd you say, $15 a piece?
$15 each. However,
Yeah.
if
There's a
you-
but.
If you know the
Love a
code
good
word, because we want to reward our listeners,
Yeah.
or our regular listeners, anyways. I realize there's some people out there that are maybe episodes behind, and I'm sorry that you're not going to hear the code word.
Well, that's why we're doing it a couple weeks in advance too. You've got a month.
So if you listen regularly, you're going to get a code word, and then your T-shirts will be $10 each.
So Craig and I got together this week, and because Craig's the one who front loaded the money for these T-shirts, he's the one he makes this show happen, and I love him for it.
No, we make the show.
Well, but okay, fair enough. I'm not going to argue that point. But because Craig is the one who really is the driving force behind, especially things like the T-shirts, the swag, and everything, we wanted him to come up with the code word, and he did, and it's amazing.
Well, I came up with web fluid.
Okay, that was less amazing.
It was a double entendre. But then we went with webhead.
Yeah.
So what's the code word?
Webhead.
One more time.
Webhead.
Okay. So if you come up with
I personally will also accept web fluid.
web fluid, and you get an extra little surprise.
Oh.
Somewhat.
We got to get silly string. So if they come up and say wet fluid,
You just hose them down.
And then they get the discount.
Yeah, then
That's an amazing idea.
we're probably going to do that. So yeah, if you come up to our table at Comic Conway and you lean over and you whisper "webhead" and or "web fluid" to us,
You don't have to whisper. Just don't come screaming. Like
Yeah, don't-
Pickle Rick at the.
There will be no pickle.
Sean
beans
just had
this year.
Vietnam-esque flashbacks,
We don't-
PTSDs from last Comic Conway.
we don't have the composure not to drop kick you for being annoying. That's where that comes from. But yeah, so you'll get a discount on your T-shirt. It'll be $10, and the shirt will cost you $10. The discount will be $5.
Yes.
And you can get some Southern Fried Geekery swag. If you come up and you show us that you have us downloaded or you subscribe to our YouTube page or you subscribe to the podcast on any one of the platforms, we're going to load you up with shit just for being awesome. And because that's...
Until we're out of shit, we will keep getting
Yeah,
it to you.
and so it's not just going to be... So I know we've got buttons. I know we've got bookmarks. I know we've got window clings. We've got a ton of stuff.
Magnets.
But I think Craig and I are going to both dip back into our collections and pull out some back issues.
I've got about 4 short boxes of comics I'm going to bring, and we may do, some giveaways for that sort of thing
Yeah.
too. We haven't figured out the logistics of that, but yeah, we've got some old comics we're going to give away, and these aren't, they're just duplicates I have. So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily that they're like crap comics,
No.
it's just I have 2 or 3 of them and I don't need them. And then I've also got some trades I pulled out that I'm going to give away, so.
So there's going to be some cool comic swag.
I will have a few pieces of beat art I'll bring up. I've shared them on the Facebook page already. Probably have a little bit of things, just trying to sell. I might have some trades. I'm trying to get rid of at a very cheap price.
There you go. Yeah,
Unfortunately, I do need money.
that's fine. No.
But if you want to go for the free ones, I don't blame you at all.
Or we might do like a raffle or something like that.
Yeah.
Some type of thing where, again, it's if you subscribe to our channel.
Yeah.
That's where that stuff's coming from. So I'm excited.
More
This is-
information to come. We'll think that through in the next week or so.
We're going to invent shit as we go. We're making all of this up as we go along. We're not professionals.
I'm sure it's obvious.
So New York Comic Con, it's another humongous con that's actually taking place this weekend. As we're recording this, it's Sunday. It's the last day. There's been a lot of news that's came out. Nothing that we all felt like we were all talking about this. I haven't seen any news that's just like world shattering. Like nothing is breaking the internet, so to speak. But there has been some stuff that we all took interest in, at least. So we compiled a little bit of it, and we're going to talk about it right here, right now. So Marvel announced its second Conan comic, which y'all know me. I can't get enough Conan. I'm super pumped about this. I love that it's gone back to Marvel. That's where it got its big comic book start. Super excited about this. But Jerry Duggan and Ron Garney are going to be bringing us the Savage Sword of Conan in 2019. In addition to this, and this is why I think this is rad, because they're opening up the platform a little bit, they are going to be doing a series of Conan novellas that are going to be printed as kind of these 3-page back matter material things in the Conan comics. So we're getting Conan, we're getting Savage Sword of Conan, and we're getting Jason Aaron writing Conan, which is like, yes, God's yes. Like goosebumps and hard BBs just all around. But we're also getting Savage Sword, and like I'm a big fan of those old magazine formats. Jerry Duggan is going to be great at it. I can't wait. This is
For those of you that don't know, Jerry Duggan's been doing. He did Deadpool for a number of years, but is currently doing Guardians of the Galaxy. I think he's doing Infinity Wars right now as well. So he's kind of.
I think he's doing a tie-in to it.
I think he's doing the main.
Is he doing the main book?
I think so. I may be wrong, but anyways, he's a really good writer. Ron Garney's a good artist. This is going to be a good book. As you said, I'm not the Conan fan that you are, but I am a Conan fan, and getting a chance to have 2 Conan books from Marvel again is pretty exciting.
So they're mentioning the 3-page novellas in the back as back matter material. So
Yeah.
I think we're getting into maybe some of the lore and history of Conan's world, maybe with those.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it's just going to be separate stories, these little adventures written in prose that you get to read, and that's so that's where Conan started at, right? Like Robert E. Howard, he kicked it off in books, in novels, and so it's great to see it branch over into a visual medium, but it's also cool that they're keeping the spirit of where it was born alive.
Yeah, exactly.
So Did you guys see any like the art that dropped from Ron Garney for this?
Is that the Conan eating a shark?
Yes,
What are you sharing?
it's Conan on like this little hastily made life raft, eating a shark in the middle of an ocean, surrounded by other sharks. It's amazing. That's what I want from Conan, man.
Wasn't that an episode of Black Sails?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Hunt down a shark. They're in still waters. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Like they weren't going nowhere.
That's awesome.
I want it. I want it real bad.
He, as far as I could tell, is not writing Infinity Wars. He did Infinity Countdown, but he is writing the book that Caleb's going to be talking about this week.
He did, yeah.
All right, so Star Wars live action television show. Jon Favreau's doing it. Those of you that don't know, he is the guy that gave us the first 2 Iron Man.
He's also a guy that I like to mess up his name every time I say it.
Did I say it right?
No, you said it right.
Oh, okay.
I think I've always either when I want to talk about him, I always fuck up and say that other guy from Marvel, Feige.
Oh,
So-
yes.
And start telling you about the glory of Kevin Feige as he made some movie in the Jungle Book.
So 2 things came out about this live action Star Wars show. First is that it's going to be called The Mandalorian, and it's going to take place between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. So it's going to give us some of the inside of what happens in that world. The second thing that happened is they released a picture from the set of The Mandalorian. And badass, looks like
Yeah.
they're on a planet like Tatooine.
Oh man, it's sick.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a Firefly type show, like a Western type space adventure. It looks like everything I want in a live action Star Wars show.
Absolutely.
From one photo, I know that.
Uh,
So I'm super pumped about it. And,
I feel like it's going to be everything we ever wanted in a live action Star Wars. Like, why is this the first time? Like, as long as
because
we've had
the
Star
last time
Wars.
they did live action Star Wars
Oh,
television
don't
show,
bring it
not
up.
the Christmas special.
Did that set us back that
That
long?
set
really?
us back 40 years.
B. Arthur is an American treasure, you bastards.
Oh, I love the show, but I realize I'm a small minority of people that actually. I mean,
It's
to be
a product
fair,
of its
No,
time.
no.
there is an hour of
You have
Wookiees
Dalton
talking.
and Matt Dykes in your company, so
Matt likes it because he's a troll.
that's true.
There is an hour's worth of Wookiees sitting around talking with no subtitles and no context for what they're actually saying.
Right?
And like I defend it because most people, I never heard of it until I think it was like around the 90s. I think like Kevin Smith had brought it over, and maybe they mentioned it in one of their films or something. So like people watch it now and are like, "This makes no sense. It's terrible. It's garbage." You really think about the time when it came out. And not one simple explanation for all of it: drugs.
Well,
Lots of drugs.
you said it a second ago. It was a product of its time. During that time in the world, there were variety shows on every freaking night. There were, and there were specials. Bob Hope did a Christmas special every year that was a big variety special.
Yeah.
That's what they tried to do with Star Wars.
And
we
drugs.
yeah.
I mean, just you get those sequences where it's just pretty colors and weird dancing and no subtitles on Wookiee talk. That's when the cocaine's hit. That's when the marijuana really kicking in. It's all
If
the
you-
timing of how they film.
I bet if
All the marijuana.
if you drop acid before that Wookiee scene, there are subtitles.
It's like the old 3D picture.
Yeah. A fun little fact: B. Arthur's character is actually canon in the
Yes,
Star
he is.
Wars world.
But anyway, back to this Mandalorian thing. It looks
It does look
fucking
amazing
amazing.
from one photo. Yeah, I'm
So
so
I
excited.
didn't-
like
I didn't
One
give.
photo with a director we have faith in. So that's,
Yeah.
I'm John
very good.
Favreau. I love that guy. He's done so much good stuff. No, actually, John Favreau. Yep. I got it right this time. I'm proud of myself. So I didn't get to take a deep look at the picture. Did they have the Wookiee belts?
No, not from what I can tell. He
Okay.
didn't have the scope either. His helmet was just rounded.
And
Or
like,
Boba Fett has a scope that comes down.
he had like a long rifle or something.
It looked like he had a long rifle.
Yeah.
But like, I know you see a lot of times Mandalorians. I've seen like the double
The short rifles.
or the double gun, or
Yeah.
the double pistol.
Yeah, Jango Fett used the double
Yeah.
pistols, and Boba Fett used the short rifle, so it looks like he's got the longer rifle.
The Mandalorians, even though it's in space in a galaxy far, far away, they had that long time ago. They've always felt kind of Western in their battle style.
Yeah.
he has the long rifle, but it looks like he also has a sidearm too.
Does he? Awesome.
Yeah.
Very
So
cool.
to me, it's going to be a cowboyish feel from the one photo.
Yeah.
Well,
We
I've
can
already
determine
determined
everything about it. One photo.
and you
Well, at least
mentioned
you're being
it.
positive.
You mentioned it earlier, the Firefly feel, and I want that. And Star Wars is another thing. It's kind of like superheroes. You can do Star Wars as a secondary genre film, and it works really well. You can do Star Wars as a thriller, as a horror, as a western, as a love story. You can do so much with it.
I still want to see a Jabba the Hutt movie done in a Godfather style.
Fucking A right, you do.
Yeah, Jerry should especially be very happy about this TV show, though, because one of his biggest complaints in Star Wars is that we don't get enough aliens. So now we got Mandalorians that are aliens.
They're humanoid.
I know. I'll wait for the. I'll wait for you and Ash to jump in on that.
Well, I thought you. I thought
No.
you
I'll
didn't know.
completely.
One of the good
Because
things.
that's one of his complaints is that like there's a huge universe
Yeah.
of Star Wars aliens that don't look like fucking John down the street, and maybe there will be. We've only seen one picture.
John, my housemate.
Yes, John.
My house neighbor.
Your house neighbor. Thank you for making the thing. But you know what I mean? And I agree with Jerry 100% on that. I just want to kind of bring him in.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if it's anything like Firefly, because Mandalorians typically, if they're not working with other Mandalorians, they work alone.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like it might end up being that thing if he accidentally gets dragged into like this party of people or something like that.
I
to that
was
extent.
really hoping that since they were saying this takes place after Return of the Jedi, before I saw the still, I was really hoping it was going to be Sabine.
Oh, Sabine.
Sabine hunting down Ezra is what I
Yeah.
thought because that's how Rebels ends is with Sabine and
I mean, it still could. You can't really tell.
Sabine and Ahsoka going after.
Yeah. But
Except her armor would be brighter colors.
yeah, I mean, we don't know that. I mean, she could totally just dull him down to not stand out in a crowd and stuff. But
And I could be wrong because this may have just been fan art or a pre-existing art they used just for the article that I saw. I think I saw a different article than the one we posted. And it showed a group of Mandalorians, like 3 of them.
Oh, okay.
Now, like I said, it may not even be connected to the show. It
I
may
didn't
not have been
see that.
from the show. It may have just been pre-existing art. I don't know.
I did not see that.
Maybe it'll be Mandalorians.
I ain't mad if there is.
Right.
So do you guys remember a while back me raving about this Avengers weekly series called No Surrender
Yes.
that they did
So
where
good.
it was so arguably it's one of the best Avengers stories that's came out in the last like 20, 30 years. And, again, arguably you can argue that point. That team, at least the writing team, is coming back together, and this was announced at New York Comic Con. Mark Waid, Al Ewing, and Jim Zub are bringing us another big Avengers event series. It's going to be called No Road Home. It's coming out in 2019. It's a 10-issue series. It's going to be delivered weekly, kind of the same way that No Surrender was. It's going to be drawn by Sean Isaacs, who I've been raving about since I first found his stuff. He started at Lion Forge. That's where I found him. He's moved over to Marvel. He's a great South African artist, just phenomenal. And Paco Medina, who's the yes, like I know that verbiage is perfect. I'm sure everybody knows what I'm talking about. Just squeaky noises.
you are a wordsmith.
I am. No, Paco Medina is a fantastic artist. He's a phenomenal draftsman. He's got a great line. I really do enjoy his work. So those two working together is just going to be the hotness. I can't wait for this. And like I said, this team's already proven that it can do a weekly series and a really well written weekly series with the Avengers. It's awesome. I mean, I've got all of those issues, and I've even got the hardcover from that last series. Like that's how good it was. Like I double dipped, and I'll probably end up doing that with this one again because it's so good. And the Avengers have been amazing right now. It's odd to me that they're not getting Jason Aaron involved a little bit because he is the main Avengers guy right now. But
Well, the title
yeah,
has me believe it's going to be other Avengers.
that could very well be.
I didn't read the article, so I may be way off base. I just didn't have a chance to read it.
There
yet.
wasn't much. There's not a lot of details that's been announced.
So, No Road Home could be something like Hank Pym
yeah,
returning. It could be something of that nature. So, I have a feeling it's also the current Avengers aren't other than the big three. The rest of the team isn't your typical Avenger team. So it could be starting another Avengers team. It could. I mean, there's all kinds of things.
Yeah, no, there's it's a blank slate, man. I have a lot of faith in this team. They have
I do as well.
yeah, they've bought a lot of faith in them.
Well, I mean, Jim Zub's quickly becoming one of my favorite writers.
Yeah.
Well, DC though has had a lot of success with their year one books, but one of the notable big names that hasn't gotten to year one is the Flash.
Yeah.
Well, apparently that's changing.
Sweet.
Because in 2019, Josh Williamson and Howard Porter have been bringing us Flash year one.
So I've read all the year ones. Have you guys?
I've read most of them, not all of them.
I saw Batman year one animated.
So the only one I haven't read, I think, is this last issue of Superman. I've read all the rest of them. Really good stuff. It's really fun. They get these big name creators to come in. They tell basically the start of these other of these characters in a different continuity.
Right.
So this
It's like an Elseworlds kind of thing.
Okay, so they are Elseworlds. So this is it,
I think
I
they
assume
actually
when it
call
said
it Earth One.
right. But when it said Flash year one, I immediately thought like Jay Garrett. We're going back to the original,
I think it'll.
or well, could it be
I hope so.
year one of Wally West?
I think it'll be Wally West or Barry Allen because with Green Lantern they didn't go back to Alan Scott. They went to Hal Jordan. So I think they're going back to what they consider to be current continuity characters.
And it was the same with the Teen Titans too. They basically kept
The
the
Teen
original
Titans
team.
go now.
Yeah.
That sort of team.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we will, but this will probably show us at least his first year when he fucked up everything, right?
It's
That's what Flash does.
well, they're
Fuck up time.
these are
universes.
year one, Earth One, so they're their own. It's these characters on a separate continuity.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe on any Earth that Flash is fuck up the timeline somehow.
It's kind of what he does. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this.
It'd be
New creative team. So
Yeah, I like Josh Williamson a lot. He's really good. I don't know. I know I've seen Howard Porter. I mean, he's Howard Porter. He's one of those artists, like, he's never going to be knocking it out of the park for me, but he'll always get on base, like for a baseball analogy.
he's a very, very talented, but not a superstar.
Right.
This is how I would
But
put it.
he's always delivering something good.
Yeah,
Never,
I mean, you never read his books and go, I can't handle this because the art's bad. It's all, listen, to be a professional in this industry and to continue to make books, you're going to have to be a very good artist.
Yeah.
And he's been around long enough that he's established himself as an established artist. Therefore, he's a good artist.
Yeah, for sure.
The Dark Avengers possibly being a thing in the movies. I don't know if you guys saw, but they had commissioned a Dark Avengers movie script.
Yeah, no, I hadn't heard about this.
Yeah, it was news that popped up, I think Thursday or so. My only thing about this is, so that team was what? Norman Osborn, Matt Gargan, Moonstone, Ares, the Sentry, and I can't remember what the sixth member was. But anyway, my point is, they haven't really introduced those characters, so
Yeah, no,
I mean, they're going to do a team book, like a Dark Avengers team book, but with characters that they don't even have in continuity.
yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I'm just wondering, what you guys think that they might do. Did you read Dark Avengers, or were you privy to Dark Avengers whenever it was a thing?
I did not. That was at the time frame when I was not
Yeah.
reading comics, and I haven't went back and read that. So
well, this is the era.
This is
It
after
was-
Secret.
After
Yeah.
Secret Invasion, because Norman
Yeah,
Osborn
was
was
the
leading the
president.
Thunderbolts, and he ended up taking over S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, this is
Well, he became the
this is where
president.
Dakin was dressed as Wolverine.
Yes,
Bullseye
yes,
was dressed
Dakin,
as Hawkeye.
yes.
As Hawkeye and all that.
Matt Gargan
Yeah.
was their Spider-Man.
Right.
Yeah.
So if they're going to do that, I feel like it's Marvel trying to do Suicide Squad, where it's going to throw a bunch of random villains who may or may not have been introduced, or different ones. Like I said, Bullseye was about to be in Daredevil season 3. So it could be their way of just you know what? Let's get some characters thrown randomly into some MCU.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see.
like
I
that
don't.
idea.
I don't see
Yeah.
this making it to the big screen.
Yeah.
I don't see this getting off the ground.
Yeah, and I mean, we still have. They haven't mentioned what year they're trying to shoot for.
Yeah.
So I mean, we could have up to 6 to 9 movies before this is even.
Well,
a
it goes
thing.
against everything Marvel's done, unless
Yeah.
they're going to bring back all the villains that they haven't killed
Yeah.
and make them the Dark Avengers, because that's just not what Marvel's done to this point to build their teams.
But also, if it is going to be part of the MCU, and who knows what's going to happen after the end of Infinity War, too.
we know Cap's dying.
Well, we know that. That's and
We're
that's
going to do that. Right?
but it's that means the Avengers are truly going to have to be disassembled for them to become the Dark Avengers. That was the whole point when Osborn wanted to still having Avengers out in the world for the public. It's just a bunch of fucked up people playing.
Right.
All right, and I mean they've introduced Matt Gargan, like they're like maybe first piece of the puzzle or something, and it's just like just recently they've started getting their villains right. So maybe they'll learn from that and go with it. So they just released a trailer yesterday for Deadly Class.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was pretty awesome. I'm down for it. I know Craig's been reading the book. I'm not up to date on it yet though.
So Deadly Class, for those of you that don't know, is Rick Remender and Wesley Craig doing the art. A beautifully drawn book about a kid that is an orphan, living on the streets, gets picked up and shipped off to the school.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of the wizarding world of Harry Potter, it's the deadly killing arts of Marcus. And basically they're trained to become assassins and killers and so forth at this school. And all the crazy shit that would go along with all of that. And from what I've seen now of the 2 trailers for this, I will say this, the costumes, the characters look fucking spot
they're
on from the book.
And the soundtrack is killer.
Well, it takes place in the 80s.
Yeah.
So you're getting that 80s punk rock, which is a big thing throughout the comics. 80s heavy metal, 80s punk rock is a big thing throughout the comic books in this. And so it looks like, from what I've seen on the 2 trailers, they are fucking nailing it.
See, I haven't
And
read
Henry
the books.
Rollins.
I haven't read the books yet. I need to, because you've been talking them up forever. But this trailer looks amazing. Like I want this.
Yeah. You want it, and you want to go read the book. I promise you.
Who is the character that kind of has like the sugar skull look?
That's Maya.
Maya?
Yeah, and she's a Hispanic Latino.
Mm-hmm. Dia de la Muertos.
Yeah, except her
yeah.
family is a family of Hispanic
Assassins.
Cartels.
Yeah, they're cartel basically,
Okay.
and she's trying to get away from them while she's at this school, and that's actually been a big part of this years. The books are done by school years, in their sophomore year right now in the book. So in this year's books, that's been a big part of the storyline, is her family. So,
Nice.
yeah, very, very solidly written. If they can pick up 1/10 of the nuance that the book has, this will be an amazing show.
I can't wait for it.
Yeah, and with like the success that this trailer has been doing, they really need to stick to their guns when they say that they buy the rights to something, that they're going to make a show for it. Because like there's so many other things that even he does that I would love to see.
Yeah, I mean, Rick Remender's amazing.
So not all news is good news. And since we're on the topic of film, TV and movies, got some bad news this week, and it sucks. It really sucks. So the actor who played Herschel on The Walking Dead died yesterday. His name was Scott Wilson. He was just all around. Everybody spoke about him with a lot of reverence. He was well liked. He was well respected. He was only 76, and I know that's up there, but that's still not when you want to go. That's not enough time. He's been acting forever. I think he first got his first gig in the 70s. He was in the OA. I think his largest, his most well-known role, other than of course Herschel, was in a film called The Ninth Configuration that he played one of the main characters. He was good. He really was, and it really sucks to see him go. And I actually think that he was supposed to be voicing, like they're doing a Walking Dead animated series. There's something animated that ties into the Walking Dead TV show, and he was coming back to do a voice of that character. I think he was coming back next season to do a couple of flashback scenes and to have some new scenes with him in. And they actually had just announced a lot of this stuff at New York Comic Con this weekend, and then he passed away. So, a lot of those people who were his friends, his coworkers, they found that out while they were doing public appearances. Which is not where you want to find out this kind of devastating news. So it's just really unfortunate. As always, 10 bell salute, sleep well, clink glasses with the other actors in Valhalla, tell our heroes we love them while you're up there.
For sure.
So, and this is another thing, we don't get these people forever. We are blessed, and I know I always say this, as fans, we ride on the shoulders of titans that deliver these things to us. And the geek community has a really bad habit. Geek community at large has a bad habit of not seeing these actors, these writers, these artists, these everything as being actual humans. And we, because of the anonymity of social media and everything else, we can just be really, really harsh and giant douchebags.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so, reach out to your creators that you are a fan of and just tell them how much you appreciate them. So, all right, on to happier things.
Yeah.
So last week, we rolled dice because it is the first episode of the month. And that's when we do our themed episodes. So Craig won the dice roll.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let him take it from here.
Yeah, so my question for each of you guys is, who is your favorite creator and why? And we wanted to keep it modern age. So I had said if it fits in a modern bag, it board.
Mm-hmm.
But I also included
Manga and anime.
manga
Yeah.
for that. So if you guys wanted to reach out to your manga. However, I'm going to let you guys start, and we'll just go clockwise. We'll start with Caleb and go around, and I'll go last.
All right. Well, so for my favorite creator of the modern era, I went with George Perez. And I've spoken about my love for George before. He's my favorite all-time comic artist. I think he's delivered some of the most beautiful, dynamic pieces of my lifetime, and he started before my lifetime. George Perez was the first artist that I ever saw his art and said, okay, somebody draws this. Like, this isn't just, you open a picture book and, oh yeah, these things have pictures. Where do they come from? Who cares? They're there. George Perez was the first artist I saw, like, okay, who does this? Like, I want to know the human that does this, and it's George fucking Perez. And I found that in his Avengers run with music. And then I just went back, and you go back and you see what everything else he's done. The Teen Titans stuff with Mark Wolfman that he did was incredible. The Wonder Woman stuff that he did is some of the best Wonder Woman stuff ever in my opinion. I think it was the Teen Titans that he did with Mark Wolfman.
You did?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And he did a lot of his most celebrated work was done in DC, and that's the reason I read a lot of that DC stuff was just because of him. And he's just a really cool guy. So he still does appearances at cons when he can. He's getting older. I've never had the chance to meet him, and I don't own any art by him. I will remedy that someday. I want to shake that man's hand.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, like the DC work especially, what he's known for. I'm pretty sure it's a different term, but I swear I remember hearing someone refer to a double page or a cover spread with so many damn characters as a Perez page.
Yeah.
Like he was known for just drawing 100 fucking characters in a page.
He'll throw in everyone
amazing.
and the kitchen sink, and he's also known for his hair. Like when you see George, especially women's hair,
Starfire.
Starfire. I was just
Yeah.
about to say Starfire.
Scarlet Witch, same thing. When you see that hair, you know it's George Perez. And so he's, just a really cool guy. I know a while back, forget what year it was, the East Coast got rocked by a really bad hurricane. He reached out and did a lot of charity work to kind of help out the comics community that got hurt. He's done a lot of cancer awareness work. He is known for wearing these really amazing Hawaiian T-shirts that his wife actually sews. She actually makes his own T-shirts, kind of his trademark. So yeah,
it's
George
always nice when you find out that you're. I'm not going to use the term hero when we're talking about creators, but when you find out they're not a villain,
Right.
real
Yeah.
life.
He's great. But yeah, his work is what really got me to pay attention to comic art,
Oh, there you go.
and I love it.
Well, thank you, Jerry.
The character. The person that I picked, and I believe everybody here will be familiar with, Jeff Lemire.
Yeah.
The first thing I ever read that I knew to my knowledge was him, because there was a dark time there where I would read something and not pay attention to creators and stuff.
The time before.
Yeah, I know, right? But it was Trillium. I don't know how
Trillium,
yeah. And I was blown away by how this book was done.
Yeah,
It was so unique,
Yeah.
and he did all the art in it,
Yeah.
and he wrote the whole thing, and it was just amazing.
I think you actually got me onto that book.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 issues in, and you're like, you got to read this book.
It was just like some of his concepts that he did in it was just so wild. So in the first issue, because it deals with not necessarily, I guess, alternate realities, but futures. So you have somebody that's like in the 1800s and a hunter, and then you have this lady that's far in the future that's on, I guess it was Earth, but they eventually converge. But the first half of this book you read, and then you flip it over and you read the girl's side of the story, and then like the next issue they did it different, where like all of her parts were on the top of the book, and all of his parts were on the bottom. So after you got through all of his parts, you flipped the book and you read it the other way, and there's just some really crazy stuff, and it really got me interested in them. And there aren't a whole lot of writers that also do their own art in a lot of their stuff, and he's from Essex County in Canada, and he also wrote a book about Essex County. That was
backhand your microphone.
We're good. But he also wrote a really great trade paperback called Essex County. That's counting the lives of a bunch of different people that all kind of converge at the end.
Yeah.
He writes, as we've said like so many times before, he writes the human condition really, really well. I think the next thing I picked up after I read Trillium was Sweet Tooth, and that was just a really beautiful series. But he's just, at this point in his career, he's just coming out with so much really great stuff.
He's probably got one of the best controls of watercolor that I've ever seen, or at least seen in the last 10 or 15 years. Watercolor is a hard medium to work with because you don't control watercolor controls you just because it's so fluid and just kind of goes anywhere it wants to. And you look at his work and he really does rein it in and he makes it work for him. It's really great.
And another thing about his art is it kind of took a little getting used to, because he doesn't, do like a standard, like,
it's not
anatomically correct. Yeah, and he really, really brings out like these very human emotions and stuff in all of his characters. And a lot of his stuff is a little kind of almost sad, like sort of abysmal. But he's been great, and as we've said many times before, like he gets the human condition like really well, and he's just amazing and writes a really great story. And I would recommend pretty much anything. He's worked with DC and he's worked with Marvel, but in my opinion, some of his best stuff is the stuff that he comes up with, his independent works.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a question about Jeff Lemire, contact either Jerry or I, and we'll get you set on the right books for him, because there is a crap ton of really good Jeff Lemire stuff out there.
Oh, absolutely. You brought Hit Girl. That doesn't like being a good book.
Well, Sean, what do you get for us?
I chose someone who was a breath of fresh air for me a while back. I chose Stan Sakai, best known for great Usagi and Jojo back in 1980.
The Ronin?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
I discovered his series back when I was early in my anime obsession, where you could rent VHS tape, you could catch anime on TV again. The manga was certainly not available. Like, I think Dark Horse was putting out a few back in the day, some Masamune Shiro stuff. They never really found books. And then a buddy of mine handed me a book, and it was like, you're into anime and Japanese movies and stuff. Check this out. That's a cartoon rabbit in a samurai outfit. He goes, read the damn book. And what Sakai makes is love of all things of the samurai Edo era in this long anthology. Like, it is a cartoon rabbit. I've literally recommended it to some of my friends, and they had the same reaction I did. Unfortunately, I don't think any of them gave it a chance. They're like, this is a cartoon rabbit. He weaved a story that's mature beyond his art style. Even though I love his art style, he wove a true tale of samurai. This story from tragedy to war to just having rivals, friends die, seeing the girl he loves married to his rival from his first fencing school, who had Usagi's baby secretly. Like, they had one night, she got pregnant. Luckily, his rival was also a rabbit, so they just assumed, and he had to let them raise it because he knew his rival was a man of station. He was just a masterless samurai wanderer. So, I mean, mature storyline, and then this epic saga like a grass cutter saga with Lawrence here. And Sakai weaves this in a way that's not overly graphic, but also very mature with a lighthearted style.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell that the early influence of anyone familiar with, make sure I don't brutalize his Italian name, Sergio Aragonés,
Mhm.
Brew. It's actually where Sakai got it started, by being the letterer for those comics.
Oh, I did not know that, really.
I didn't either until I read
Yeah,
up on
that's
Sakai. But what I give praise for Eric Larson with his the B-movie greatness that is Seventh Dragon, this is a lifelong story that Sakai has done with Usagi that takes Japanese real like samurai lore history, as well as movies from taking the blind samurai movie Zatoichi and making it a pig that can smell really well.
Yeah.
To taking Lone Wolf and Cub movies and putting in Lone Goat and Kid. And it's just the whole series is a tribute to all things that are samurai.
When you mentioned Eric Larson, I think you can look at Stan Sakai's influence on Eric Larson.
Absolutely.
And so the first time I ran into Stan Sakai was kind of accidentally. It was one of the issues where Usagi teamed up with the Turtles.
Yes, and that's a lot of people's first.
Yeah, that was where I first found him.
Yeah, like that was the first time I ever saw him was the Ninja Turtles cartoon.
Yeah.
And the toy and all that good stuff. So I never knew he had a comic or anything. I thought he was this random Ninja Turtle. You know, they find a ninja and a samurai ninja, and a samurai rabbit. But then, like I said, then when you actually get into the books, it's a long anthology, an epic saga.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still putting it out. Yeah, I brought up the issues a few times. He's kind of slowed down. I mean, the man's been making books for a long damn time. And so he does like miniseries, but he's also branched off and he did a sci-fi one called Space Usagi, where he just another little Elseworld of Usagi Yojimbo in space.
Nice.
To even the 47 Ronin, the classic tale, he did a comic version of that with the creator of Lone Wolf and Cub serving as like the editor for that book. So it's just like you see it in Japan a lot, where it's creator-owned property, long running, it's doing everything. And granted, he is from Kyoto, that's where he was born. But he's from Japan, but he's been here working in the American comic industry as a lone creator for all these years through Dark Horse Publishing. So this is something admirable, and this is one of the best books. I don't think gets enough love and recognition.
Yeah.
Outside of his Hunter's Advisor Award, he's awarded, but you know what I mean. Like the general populace sees a cartoon rabbit and doesn't really care.
Yeah. I mean,
I think he deserves a lot.
Well, I've read the first few volumes, and I have the first 7 volumes. I'm working through them in my time. Just an amazing book, amazing story. It's the closest thing I would say to Americanized anime or manga that you can find.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was a great shame and my great jealousy. I'm going to point out I've never got to meet the man, but nothing but good things. And our friend and Jerry's close friend, Stephanie Straw, recently got to meet him.
Oh, that's nice. And
at Rose City,
Yeah.
where she got me a print and a signature / drawing as he tends to do.
right.
And just knowing how nice and friendly he was. And he was like, he had a sign, I think that said like $80 commission for a sketch.
Mm-hmm.
And at the day she went up there, he was like, you know what, just put wherever you want in this donation box for this charity and I'll draw you a sketch.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. This
Yeah.
seems like a legitimately good person.
Well, thank you guys for your input on that. I'm going to go ahead and give you mine now.
Do it.
To probably no one's surprise, it's Neal Gaiman.
Yep.
I was going to do Rick Remender or Jeff Lemire as well, but I knew Jerry was going to do Jeff Lemire. So, but Neal Gaiman's for a long time been one of my favorite comic creators.
Mm-hmm.
His works on Miracle Man and Sandman will forever lock his place in comics, not just as a comics writer, but it really shows his depth as a writer in general. So he also had a run on Swamp Thing. He did the Books of Magic, which is a lot of people feel that J.K. Rowling ripped him off
Yeah.
for Harry Potter. If you go look at this comic book, it's a orphan boy with messy hair and glasses, round glasses, that gets taken off to a wizarding world to learn how to use his magic. So then there's he did Marvel 1602, The Eternals.
1602 is such a big story.
It really is. And then years later, he followed up the Sandman story with Sandman Overture. He's created so many characters. Morpheus and Daniel, the two Sandmen.
Sandman's.
Sandman's, Death,
Sand people.
Lucifer, Cain and Abel would not be in the Marvel universe without him. Techno Comics, he was one of the creators there. Angela, who's just now come to Marvel as Thor's sister, was his creation. She actually made her first appearance in a Spawn book. He had to sue Todd McFarlane to get her because it was his creation.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Well,
I knew she appeared in Spawn. I didn't know that was an anime.
Yeah, he created, when he just went to Marvel, which is kind of interesting that now DC's going back to Sandman now that he's part of the higher ups at Marvel. Because he's not creating for them, he's an editor or something of this nature.
He's kind of the mastermind behind that imprint.
Yeah, so he wanted to bring his character with him, so he had this, and Todd McFarlane wasn't going to give her up, so he had to sue Image to get her rights.
Just fucking rickroll me.
Yeah.
Now Marvel's doing so much better with them.
I mean, she's at least being used.
As everybody else,
Yeah. The reason I love Neal Gaiman so much is he brings a depth to comic storytelling that is maybe unparalleled and unequaled. His stories are very high concept. You read an early issue that has no apparent reference to anything going on in the story, and you're like, okay, well, that's a great standalone story. It's well told, but what the hell does that have to do with Morpheus? And then you find out 80 issues later that issue was the key to everything. And you have to go back and reread it because you're like, oh, well, shit, he set all of this up. Maybe you got Alan Moore that does that same kind of high concept in today's day and age. Jonathan Hickman.
Yeah, I was thinking
Ichiro Oda.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. But you just don't see it that often in modern comics. So he, to me, is the pinnacle of what great storytelling can be in comic books.
Well, he is a master storyteller.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
That's the way he has promoted himself. It's what he is. His work in prose is also, American Gods. He's done some amazing stuff just all the way around.
Well, and he's also written a lot of scripts for television, a lot of the BBC stuff, Doctor Who and Sherlock and things of that nature. He's done a lot of the scripts for some of the concepts from Sandman, where Daniel was conceived in a dreaming and then was born in reality and then became Sandman later because of that. Is very similar to what happened in Doctor Who, where their daughter was conceived on the TARDIS and ended up becoming Doctor Who's wife later. Some of that same high concept type stuff. So,
Do you think Daniel and Morpheus walk side by side or in single file?
I know numbers.
Because they're same people.
Sandman.
I hate you right now. Daniel is technically not Morpheus. That is correct. He's just Sandman.
Yeah.
Morpheus was Sandman. He died. Now Daniel is Sandman.
No, dude,
But they're the same person. It's like the Trinity. Don't ask me.
Right.
Don't try and logically.
No,
figure
I
it
mean,
out.
as deep as gaming goes, and admittedly I haven't read a ton, but what I have read, like I said, very high concept. And I actually read one of his novels way back in high school. I need to see if I can find it again. I'm pretty sure there was I know there was a miniseries adaptation of Neverwhere. They did a miniseries, and I don't know if it's a comic, but just as simple as there's an alternate world in London where, like, once you're involved, like, people never, unless they're also in there, like, you ever been walking down the street and thought you saw someone at the corner drive and then there was nothing there? That was one of them. Just as simple as that, it turns into something bigger. Like, he's an amazing writer.
Well,
and he attacks confiscators.
yes, there's that too.
No, they attack him.
They attack him.
And he fights back.
Yeah, he lays down the law. Yeah.
I really enjoyed his little run on Eternals with John Romita.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was he did a really a lot of good stuff with his characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his hand is still seen in comics. I mean, as I was saying earlier, they're now going back to the whole Sandman world, which has been fairly fantastic up to this point because they've got some good writers doing it. It would be a very daunting task for somebody to step into that world, though, after this huge thing he created.
Yeah.
So
His work with J.H. Williams III is some of the best stuff I've ever seen. And I'm not a Sandman person. Like, I've only read Overture. Which a lot of it doesn't make sense because I haven't read the rest of it. But it's one of the greatest pieces of comics literature I've put my hands on. Ever.
for sure.
So, well, all right.
Yeah, that's our favorite creators and why we enjoyed it.
Well, thank you for the homework, dude.
Yeah.
It was fun. So, all right, y'all ready to talk about some comics? Let's get smothered covering comics. Talk about some book. I'm excited about it. So we all read a book this week. So we're all going to talk about it, kind of roundtable on it. So we got together and decided we were going to read it's a first from Image Comics. It's called Errand Boys. It's written by DJ Kirkbride. It's drawn and colored by Nikos Kautis. It's flatted by Mike Torres, and I can't tell you what that means because I don't know. And it's lettered and designed by Frank Setnovic. It's a fun book, so we want to kind of... Does anybody want to give us a rundown of what the story was real quick? Or you don't?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
I can't think of the main character's name right now. Jace or something.
Yeah, Jace.
Yeah,
And the
so
Wheelmore.
different Jace. believe it or not. Maybe that's why I like this book. So
Oh, no, I have theories on why you like this book.
yeah. So Jace is a errand boy, and in this world, the errand boy is everything from running and picking up coffee for somebody, or going and stealing their uncle's baseball cards and getting them to
Hit ball cards.
hit ball cards. Yes. So yeah, he's kind of he's a good one, but apparently a fuck up as well.
Kind of a
little bit of fucks it up. But
He's a lovable oaf.
yeah, but he seems to complete the work.
Hey.
Maybe not in the way they intended, but they always get what they want. So, book starts off with him on an errand. Then his girlfriend breaks up with him, and then he gets a phone call that his dad and stepmom have passed away in a car accident, and he is now the only living relative to his half brother that he doesn't even barely know.
Mm-hmm.
And moves this teenage boy in with him, and the boy is an alien.
I was going to say, so all of this sounds like a pretty normalized story
Yeah.
until you get to the fact that all of this takes place in space,
Yes.
in the Ebb system.
It's heavy sci-fi.
It's extremely heavy sci-fi.
Yeah, and so his girlfriend was an alien. His stepbrother or half brother is an alien.
Essentially, all the people that he works with.
Everybody he works with is some sort of
Everybody
alien.
that's chasing him, trying to kill him.
Yeah,
Have we even seen another
I'm
video
pretty
yet?
sure.
you're right. You're
Yeah.
the lead.
They're the only different character we've seen so far.
Yeah, and so just he ends up having to take in his brother, and we're going to see where the antics go.
Yeah,
and what happens.
school's too expensive, so he grabbed his brother and was like, all right, you're not getting your education, kid. Sorry about the bad luck. Your mom died, my dad died. He was a piece of shit anyway. But come on, we're going to go get paid.
Yeah.
And so they go and run an errand together, and the errand that it's sent on is to go to this planet and, like, capture
Dodo bird.
this weird, angry, cannibalistic dodo bird.
I'm a guy.
And so they're going to go on this adventure and get to the final page, and you realize that things are kind of not as easy as they perhaps were. So my theory on why you like this book. This book
Because
is
it's good.
it's a total parody of Han Solo. This could be taken, if you ignore a lot of the stuff, he looks like Han Solo, he dresses like Han Solo, he is a space smuggler like Han Solo. It's taking that trope and it's throwing it into a world kind of like The Fifth Element. And you're getting these just really weird things, and it's a big brother, little brother story.
Yeah, I can see that.
Going by just the first issue, which is the one that's out, it looks like it's going to be a fast-paced, quick dialogue, quick action, like kind of a book. The art grabbed me almost right away. I had to go straight to the credits and check it. I thought it was a J. Scott Campbell book.
Yeah.
The artwork is very stylized look. I fucking love the art in this book immediately.
Yeah, so
Like I thought, the character design, I thought it was Campbell at first, and that's a complete compliment. I love J. Scott Campbell's art. You mentioned the guy's name, I've already forgotten. So.
it's Nikos Kautis.
Yeah, please keep saying it.
Damn good art.
Changes a little bit.
The main character, Jace, like I immediately looked at like the character, the way he acted, the way he was designed. Like if this was turned into a show or a movie 20 years ago, it'd be a young Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it'd absolutely be cast this guy. 'Cause, like the dialogue, and witty banter and stuff, like that's kind of what you got as a character. He's very interested in, like I said, the Hardy Boys. He said, you talk about aliens. They ain't just, oh, I got green antennae or something like that. Some of these aliens are like grotesque and big and like it's very detailed. You can tell it's a very vivid world they're building.
And that was actually one of my favorite things about it. I just really enjoy books like Black Science or Invincible, where they just kind of throw you into the world and they already have aliens and shit established, and they don't feel the need to explain them at all.
It's just
And that's great. And like you see them and they're like, wow, this thing is fucking hideous, but like it's normal to him because this is everyday life, and like all those designs and stuff are really unique. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And I like that like his brother is like a product of like the mom being an alien,
right,
and everything. So that's kind of cool, and I look forward to seeing what else there is to this kid. You know.
Well, one of the things you said was Black Science, which is Rick Remender, and this book reminded me a lot of a Rick Remender book that I know Jerry and I both read, Fear Agent. I don't know if you've read that or not.
Yes.
Like
even the main character was a lot like
drawn a lot like him.
Yeah.
To me, it had very much of a Fear Agent type feel.
Yeah, and like I mean, even the main character where he's like hard-headed and kind of an idiot, but like
Which
will
again
still
is a
like
Han
strive
Solo.
to get the job done. You know.
Yeah, a Han Solo type character.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a good analogy. I didn't catch that.
That's immediately what I thought of when I saw it. So I didn't get I absolutely, now that you say it, I see the J. Scott Campbell thing. To me, this had more of like a 3000 or 2000 AD feel. It's like where it's the anthology series that Judge Dredd and everything came out.
Oh.
So it's got that very angular cartooning style. There is a space western comic that came out that I read, and for the life of me can't remember. Copperhead. Yeah, Copperhead.
Still going on.
Whatever happened?
It's still going on?
Yeah, it's still going on. It changed artists, and I didn't like the new art, so I jumped off. That's what this kind of feels like. It's like a 3D. It's a 2000 AD take on Copperhead, but less of a western and more of a odd job smuggler type of thing. Not really my cup of. Like, I don't think I'll keep reading this.
Oh, I will.
Will you? Okay, very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, and so that's.
I'm definitely gonna give it.
Are you good?
Yeah.
Good. It wasn't. I didn't think it was bad. It's just not. It's not my cup.
Yeah.
It's interesting though. I did enjoy reading it.
Yeah, it was a lot to me. Now that you say it, thinking, I mean, this is Han Solo trying to make an Encore song.
Yeah.
And finds out he's got a little brother. To me, I can see that now.
A lot more having to carry the packaging smuggling instead of just flying it in.
Yes.
Because that's the thing, he's a courier. He is carrying the whole time he's running in the beginning. He's got a big box of Hitler cards. I mean, that we learned. It's very good. It's worth checking out.
Yeah,
Well,
go
he's
read
got
it.
some. There's a couple references to his ship on there that he names the ship a couple of times. So I think we're gonna actually see some smuggling type stuff happen. So
Nice. And I should mention the comic had a backup story, a couple pages, and it was, as you mentioned earlier, is he gets kind of dumped by his girl, and
Max, I think was it.
I think so, yeah. Really cool, kind of bald blue alien chick.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the story of how they met. So you get this. I feel like she's going to be a recurring character because I don't know why I invest that much time and energy in it.
Yeah, I
can
can-
not bring it back.
Yeah, I think she's probably gonna show back up in the next issue. I don't feel like she's gone.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Very cool. So Sean, what did you read this week, buddy?
I read Batman 56. After the events of the last issue, which we'll go ahead and say, if you're this far behind, spoiler, but it's been 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
A month.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
when we
It's
get
about
to
2
the
weeks.
comic section, to the smothered cover, whatever.
Just in general show.
Yes.
You should know
They
that
should know by now.
there are spoilers in our show.
After the end of the last issue, though, with Nightwing getting shot in the head,
Right.
Batman is now on a tear. After everything he's gone through with the wedding and everything else, and now basically his son just got shot in front of him, he's on a tear looking for who he knows is Cajun Beast.
Mm-hmm.
He pieced that together fairly quickly. He went straight to the dirtiest gun somebody knew and figured that out. And you see a part of that it's in glorious Tom King fashion, and also Tony S. Daniel drawing. It's still amazing art. You see it go between Batman hunting down and figure out exactly. You kind of guess with KGB's right away, but then you also got confirmation. Then you also have KGB's kind of going to his father, so you get some origin on this character. Which, honestly, outside the first time I think I ever at least remember seeing KGB's was the Suicide Squad animated film, where he got blowed up in the first 20 minutes. In the beginning.
Are you talking about Assault on Arkham?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They used him to show the bomb detonation. So I don't know anything about KGB's, but now you're learning about what he was, born and bred to be a fucking killer, and so you get history of him, and you get Batman searching him out and going through extremes, and just going through 3 bat planes to get into the cold of Russia and find this guy. Batman's on a tear. Before he even gets that far, we get another. Tom King loves these obscure characters, and I don't know shit about the New Gods. And we discussed this a little before record. He gets tipped off from, I believe it's Bronze Tiger.
I think so, but
I think that was Bronze Tiger because his look has changed. But Batman fighting alongside Bronze Tiger, fighting off a shit ton of ninjas, which they know that was a lot of ninjas, like an excessive amount of ninjas. And he points them away to Kanto, of the New Gods, who is the only other mercenary who KGB says worked for and not killed because the New God, immortal. And which was a great way because, it cuts back and forth. When it cuts to Batman finding Kanto, Batman is tied up upside down. Gets the information from him that leads him towards KGB. So it was a dialogue that kind of look confused.
Well, I am, because I thought Bronze Tiger was a villain.
I think he's.
Is he an
I think
anti-hero?
he's a mercenary kind of character.
Okay.
He said he never worked for KGB's because all his partners in it.
That makes sense. You're right. Okay.
He's kind of a mercenary.
He was fighting ninjas, so Batman let it go.
Okay.
He didn't fight Batman because Batman and him were fighting an excessive amount of ninjas. And it was. But, so it all leading to Batman hunting down KGB's to where he gets the location in Russia where he should be. And it's the dead of winter in Russia. They were told you can't make it. He went through 3 bat planes to get to where he was, and he's just marching through the snow, which is an amazing double-page spread.
Yeah.
So good.
Of him. You see him slowly marching up with all the dialogue, and getting to that point. That was
Just sheer willpower.
It was another great issue, and I feel like it's probably going to wrap up next issue. I think this is going to be a 3-part arc about him just probably going to end up damn near killing KGBs, if not, because I feel like he has snapped. And I think this is kind of the point of kind of mentally breaking the bat. It's been ever since the Wed issue is what they've led to, and if that's where Tom King wanted to go this whole time, it's finally starting to become more apparent.
Well, think about the psychological trauma that Bruce Wayne, Batman, has gone through. First, he got left at the altar, and then his son got shot in the head.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's already faced the consequences of not avenging one son getting killed.
Yeah. So it's been a breakdown of the stoic, quiet Batman. While he's still not ranching and raving yet, he's still being very Batman. His actions are not very Batman. You can tell he's no longer cold calculating.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, he's driven strictly on vengeance. You could always argue that the entirety of Batman's existence is revenge because of his parents on crime. This is a personal thing, though, right?
Yeah.
And it's, again, we praise Tom King every damn episode down here. And he deserves it because this is another fantastic issue.
That scene in the Batcave where Alfred's talking to him was so poignant when Alfred's like, can you find him?
Right.
He's like, but it's KGB's. Alfred's like, but it's Dick. Can you find him?
Right.
He says, of course I can. I mean, that, it almost gave me chills reading that.
Oh, even Alfred's pushing him.
Yeah, Alfred's even Alfred's
so.
like, it's Dick. You can't let this one just go. Yes, he's not dead, but he still shot him in the head.
I was going to say, just as a short aside, and if this is anybody's pick of the week, stop me. But Nightwing number 51 came out this week. Did anybody read that? Okay.
I read it.
So we know that Nightwing's not dead. Go read that book as a follow up to the last Batman issue where he gets capped. And there's some amazing things going on.
Yeah, he's
in that book with this character.
I know you said that the fact that he survived it is kind of a letdown. He is suffering some severe effects.
I've read a little bit about it. It's just honestly, as much as I do want to follow it up, I'm not allowing it right now.
Oh, I get
But
it.
I mean, but yeah, the fake out death, and I'm sure it's being handled well, especially that you were telling me I should go read it. So
There's a lot. Plus, he looks amazing in tidy whities. Jesus Christ.
I mean,
God bless that book.
it's Dick Grayson.
Yes, he's got the best ass in comics. Yes.
I just love Tom King. And the fact that people have been like going up to him at conventions and asking him to do sketch covers has been
I've seen some of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a stick figure of Red Hood, and it just says off to the side, "I hate Crowbar."
So, I'm pumped about this, man. It was a good book. It really was.
Which leads into my book a lot.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so one thing that DC, it's real easy right now because Marvel is fucking crushing it, especially with their cosmic stories right now and their team books, okay? So they're fucking crushing it. But it's easy to say Marvel's killing it and DC sucks, which is DC right now is doing some amazing shit. And what they're doing really well right now is tying in things that happen from one book to another and hitting it on the right beat.
Keeping the continuity.
Their continuity timeline is
Nightwing coming out 2 weeks after he got shot in the Batman. The next issue of Nightwing, they deal with the consequences of him getting shot in the Batman book. My book is Green Arrow. It's written by Julie and Shauna Benson. Javier Fernandez did the art, and John Callis did the colors. So this is a book that follows the beat of Heroes in Crisis. We talked about that last week, where Roy was one of the people that got killed. And for those of you that don't know, Roy is Roy Harper, Arsenal. He was a sidekick for Green Arrow for years. They always had a very tumultuous relationship. There was always a love there, though, a father-son love, but also a mentor sidekick love. Roy needed it to be the father. Oliver needed it to be the mentor. Oliver was not capable of being the father figure that he needed to be. It led Roy down a very dark path where he got addicted to drugs.
Yeah, he was a heroin addict.
He was a heroin addict. Hal and Oliver, Green Arrow and Green Lantern, caught Roy doing heroin. Roy finally got the help he needed, but the damage to their relationship had long been done. So this book starts at the funeral for Roy Harper. And it's all from Oliver's perspective, since it's Green Arrow, of course. And he goes through every step of grief, starting with denial. Is this a nightmare? Is this a dream? Surely this didn't happen, and it goes straight from there to anger. And Oliver puts the blame right squarely on the shoulders of the Justice League. What the hell is wrong with you guys? You set up this place and you didn't offer any protection. Basically fuck the Justice League. If this is all you're good for. He walks up and he punches Clark Kent in the face.
I was going to say specifically the Trinity.
Yeah, he punches Clark in the face and he's like, I'm going to knock you the fuck out if I break every bone in my hand to do it. And then Deanna steps in and he threatens her. Finally, Martian Man, and then he's like, where the fuck's Bruce Wayne? Why isn't he here? And Bruce is off doing, looking for the killer.
Yeah, doing detective work.
And he's like, damn right, that's where you all should be. Why are you all here? Go find the killer. Bring him to justice, and he's just pissed. The second stage of grief is anger. And Martian Manhunter comes and grabs him and talks to him and talks him off the ledge. Brings him back. He's starting to realize that his anger is misplaced. That the anger is on him. But he goes to this cliff and he's sitting there and there's a woman sitting there on the cliff and she goes, oh, did you know Roy before or after his addiction? He goes, well, I guess both. And she goes, yeah. She goes, I only knew him after his addiction. And she tells the story of how Roy saved her life. But it wasn't Arsenal that saved her life. It was Roy.
Yeah.
Roy convinced her that she needed to get help for her addiction. And she said, I don't know who he is to you, but to me, he'll always be a superhero.
Oh.
So at this point, I'm welled up reading this, right? And so he heads back and he's listening to other people eulogize Roy. And then he starts thinking about his journey and realizes he was never the father that he should have been. And this ends with just some of the craziest panels ever as far as emotional ties for me. It's got Oliver looking at the coffin, and this is what he says. I'm sorry it wasn't the man you needed me to be, and I'm sorry I didn't see it until now. You were a better man than I. I love you, son.
God. Damn.
Yeah, and I'm just like reading that, tears are flowing, and
I'm one of the ones who cries on the podcast.
it like when I read, and still I'm emotional right now. It's been a long time since a comic book brought out that kind of emotion.
Well, it's interesting because normally when we think about surrogate father figures in comics, we think about Batman and Dick, or we think about Bruce and Dick, and Batman and his Robins. In a lot of ways, I think Green Arrow has always been known as kind of a poor man's Batman, but there's so many poignant stories in there, and it's just there's so much you can tap into. That just a rich and beautiful history.
Well, and then there's all this depth between those two characters, right? And then it's been this kind of friction between them, not a Jason Todd Batman kind of friction,
right?
They always help each other, but it's always kind of this, kind of a son trying to break free from his father's grasp and become the man that his dad wants him to be, type thing. But it ends with Oliver walking away from the graveside saying, "I'll never fail you."
Wow.
So, I mean, it's just, it hits you in the feels, this whole book, and the fact that it deals in a 22-page book, you see Oliver go through every spectrum of the grieving process,
right.
Every stage of it, to finally the acceptance. And to see that done so well in a comic, I think the last comic I read that gave this kind of feels was actually The Funeral for Peter Parker in Ultimate Spider-Man, when Aunt May punches Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of that same feel, So, yeah, it was by far one of those books that is everything a comic book can be when it's done right.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first to admit, Green Arrow's been hit and miss for a while for me. I read one issue and I'm like, just kind of flip through it, and then I'll come back, and the next one it's, oh, hey, it's great again. It's just been kind of hit or miss, but this one was dead on. But I think it's what DC is doing really, really well right now. They're hitting the beats of what's happening from one book to the next. I'm kind of disappointed because I looked at Flash's next book, and it's not dealing with Wally West.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of where my mind went straight to, is because that means these deaths are in fact real. They're real time, real continuity dead. We don't think they're gonna stay dead. At least I don't.
I think some of them are, but Roy will be dead for a while.
Yeah.
I think.
I'm gonna be a little
upset after this if they bring it back too quickly.
Yeah.
Right. And because I think, like you were saying, and now granted I'm not the biggest Green Arrow fan, but it's general keeping up with comics. You made a comparison of like Bruce and Dick as like a father-son thing, and you had Roy and Oliver. But like, it seemed to me that like Arrow has touched a bit more on that, especially with the Roy addiction storyline. That's very much like a father dealing with his teenage son doing drugs. I don't think Batman's ever really hit that kind of level of.
The closest would be Jason Todd's antics after coming back.
Yeah.
Okay. But you know what I mean? But like, especially like, because when they did the Roy heroin addiction, he was still like a teenager, a young dude. He was part of the Teen Titans. He was going that point. So I think that it's really great that they push out on Batman, but I think it hits more home with the more ground level basis of Green Arrow, and like with the past he's already had with Roy, it hits more home with the father son dynamic.
Well, we always think about Batman being the most human member of the Justice League. I think we kind of default to that, but Green Arrow is more human than Batman.
Yeah.
And he's more just down to earth, just grassroots vigilantism than
Yeah, I
Batman.
mean, he's got the money to be Bruce Wayne, but he doesn't have the same fighting skills. He doesn't.
Detective skills.
Yeah, he's more straight up. Hey, I'm going to shoot you with my arrow.
He's more
fucked up.
yeah, he's more heart than head.
I know they did it in the Justice League cartoon, which working with who they have it, a lot really tied close to the comics. I'm sure that was addressed in the comics because when they were putting it together, they wanted Green Arrow. He's like, I'm just a dude running the streets of the ghettos that you won't go to. Fight street level crime. I'm just nobody. Because exactly, we need you to keep us grounded in the Justice League. Like,
And
they're
that's
all
actually-
basically gods. But he is even Batman is almost like a god level.
Right.
But Arrow brings the humanity and the heart.
Yeah, for sure. It's very that same story has happened in the comics where he's either been denied being on the Justice League
Mhm.
for not being powerful enough, or has turned them down because you didn't want me before. Why do you want me now? I'm
Right.
just a dude with an arrow. Leave me alone. You know. But then there's times he's been on it too because he's friends with Hal.
Right.
You know? So there's sometimes that tie when Hal's on the Justice League, there's more chance for him to be on the Justice League because of that relationship.
Yeah. So, and just the fact of how well they've been carrying over continuity from Batman and Nightwing,
Yeah,
from Heroes in Crisis to that. Like, I hope they keep it up because I feel like it's been a really long time since we've actually had that kind of steady.
I know it was mine and Caleb's complaint a couple of years ago in Marvel. They had all these really good events going on, but Mark Waid was the only one that was touching them in his comics.
It's like you got to pay attention to your line-wide work, guys.
And in the rest of the books, where it's almost like these events weren't happening, and it's like you're taking away from your event by not having the repercussions. Something that Marvel did very well in Civil War was you had Civil War, but line wide, the events of Civil War were taking effect in each of the books.
Well, that's a testament to the editorial staff. I mean,
Right.
they're the ones who keep that. Like they keep the grand board,
Right.
the playboard up.
Like you guys read a lot more books than I do. It's a good point. Like what the Marvel's doing now with the Dark Celestials.
Mm-hmm.
We had that one, like I think it was like one page, maybe two, that showed other heroes fighting the bugs and the Celestials.
Yeah.
But did that actually go into any other Marvel book? These
No.
giant fucking gods coming down to Earth.
Yeah.
They never addressed it.
No.
Man, dropping the ball.
No, but they'll
DC doesn't.
address smaller moments, and so that we don't need to see these huge moments line-wide. But you've got to address the details into these books because, especially in a culmination book like the Avengers or the Justice League, where your line is inherently tied into those main focal characters, you got to talk about it. You can't have a character show up dead in a main book and then not address it in another one. And
Especially when it's a
And
mentor sidekick
Yeah.
situation and the mentor doesn't address it, which is why I'm hoping that Flash addresses it after they wrap up the story arc there.
Yeah.
Which I think this next issue is the last in the story arc, but Barry Allen's got to. I mean, it's Barry and Iris. It's Iris's nephew. They've got to address the fact that Wally's dead.
Right.
You know.
if you want it to feel important, you've got to make it important. So.
It also kind of feels like maybe sometimes it's those particular writers and stuff for those issues are like have a story plan and everything, and they don't want to necessarily derail it to talk about whatever's going on in that. But I feel like they know with enough, like the editorial staff would know with enough headway, time that they could be like, hey, we need to make sure we plan for this, at some point.
So to me, like I said, like Green Arrow, it's been hit or miss. I don't think I read the last issue. And so whatever's happening is secondary. Your mentor or your sidekick just died. You're going to stop whatever you're doing and have the funeral.
Yeah.
It's okay to stop your storyline.
It's
and
just like
insert-
real life.
It makes it more lifelike than, oh wait, we got to finish our story arc before we address that. It happened. It's obviously happened because the events are being repercussions felt throughout the rest of the series. Now DC's dropping the ball in one thing, and that's the connection of Justice League to the rest of the characters. Batman's paralyzed right now in Justice League. You know, I mean,
He's gonna be walking pretty damn good through the snow. For
not necessarily paralyzed, but
Yeah.
they're operating on him and trying to get him back up and running.
Wow, so there is absolutely no
They're dropping the ball there, but they're hitting it in Heroes in Crisis.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think
But we don't know where it takes place in the same timeline
Yeah.
either. That's
true.
And it's also really hard to keep a continuity whenever you have a team book versus their solo book
Yeah.
too.
Right.
Well, and then Superman didn't rebuild the moon, so
that happens.
Yeah.
Well, Jerry, what'd you read, buddy?
So my book was actually from Boom Studios, which I don't know that we review a lot of.
We don't.
I
We've never
like
read
Boom
something. I
Studios,
love
but
Boom.
I very rarely review.
Well,
Colin Bunn writes a lot for them.
Yeah, and I thought about it, and I think it's more of like they come out with a lot of stuff, but it's hard for the comic book shop owners to decide what to get in the store,
Mhm.
you know, because they do so much in Boom. But I did a 5-issue miniseries. The first issue came out of Sparrowhawk, and I will be perfectly honest with you, I forgot that I signed up for this book 3 months ago, but I'm glad that I did because I really enjoyed it.
Surprise!
It is written and created by Delilah S. Dawson, illustrated by Matthias Basler, lettered by Jim Campbell. The cover was really beautiful. It's by Miguel Mercado. So the story was really interesting. It's very reminiscent of like your Alice in Wonderland type scenario. You've got this girl. Starts off in Northumberland, England, in 1851. She is part of this family, but she has the same father as the rest of the family. But it was a thing of like he went overseas, cheated on his wife, and she was a byproduct and came back. And it hints that her mother was a slave. So she's never been completely welcome in this family except by the other daughters. Like, well, I mean, the other mother,
Right.
you know, doesn't accept her. And
Is she a James Snow?
yeah, I guess kind of, yeah.
Sorry to immediately
Kind of
thinking
thing.
about Game of Thrones.
But apparently she got along with the other daughters. So at the beginning of this series, she's riding a horse. She has a bandage on her head, and she, you know, finds the youngest daughter who is at a cemetery. And apparently, the main character here, whose name is freaking looked up how to say this, Artemisia. Her and the oldest daughter were in a wreck in a carriage, and the oldest daughter died. And so they're kind of still dealing with the grief on this. She finds out that the mother of the house is wanting to speak with her, and she's like, well, that's weird because she never wants to talk to me. She doesn't even want to acknowledge my existence. And whenever she gets there, the mother's pretty much talking to like, you're always talking about how the family's debts are your debts. So Elizabeth, the daughter that died, we were going to marry her off to a prominent family so we can, gain money and power from that. Because apparently the father has like gambling debts and stuff. Like he likes to go out and spend all their fucking money and stuff. So to keep their house still a prominent one, they're going to marry her off. And she's like, no, I don't want to do this. So they the mother gives her like no other option, basically, gives her the wedding dress of the girl who passed away and was like, tonight at the ball, you're going to present yourself. You're going to come home with like a super rich dude, or we're going to like, offer up the youngest daughter to some
Hell of an
shitty-
ultimatum.
Yeah, no, it's pretty fucked up. So
She's a little bit.
she's
This
like,
is one chance fancy, don't let us stand.
yeah.
Right.
So she's like just thinking about it, and she's looking in the mirror, and all of a sudden this fucking hand grabs her and pulls her in, and there's this crazy like being that pops out, and she basically steals this girl's identity and drops her into this fantasy world. And you later find out that apparently she's like some kind of evil like fairy queen, and she swapped places with her so she can mess up their world and turn it into this world. So you get into this fantastical fairy world, and she gets approached by this thing that is essentially a jackalope with wings. That's like a bunny with deer antlers, and it's got fairy wings. And it's pretty much telling her, because she's got all these questions about what's going on in this world, and it makes a bargain with her, and it's like, we have to make a trade, and I can tell you all the information you want to know, but I want your firstborn. And she's actually has a pretty good response, and she's like, well, I don't have any kids, and I doubt I'd want any because they're kind of awful.
Yeah.
Like they're the worst thing ever. So he's like, okay, well that's fine. We can work out something else. So how about your most your most fondest memory, like something very precious to you? And she's like, I don't know. Will it hurt? And he's like, I don't know. Does it hurt? Whenever you normally forget something. So she agrees. Earlier on, whenever they were in the cemetery, she picked up like this, really beautiful flower and kind of put it in her hair with the bandage and everything. After they make the deal, she kind of like picks it out and she's like talking about how she had like rubbish, she had to get rubbish out of her hair. So it has to do with something that had to do with her wreck and the girl that died whenever they were in it. This being essentially tells her that she is in this fairy world, and in order for her to get out, she needs to kill things. Because by killing fairy creatures around you, you gain power, and you need power to survive in this world and to eventually escape. And the first thing they find is this little cute thing called a butter fairy that's it's like this little squishy cat with wings, and it's like really adorable, but he's talking about how these things are like all over the place and they're just awful things because there's an epidemic of them. And they apparently create, whenever in the real world, a baby laughs. So that's why he's saying that there's an epidemic. And as he's kind of telling her that she should kill it, to gain powers, they start hearing something. And so he goes to hide, and he's like telling her like whatever it is, murder the shit out of it. But then she hides too because she doesn't know anything about this world. It pops out, and it turns out that this creature that comes, it's like really like tall and skinny, and like it just looks really evil. It's got like tattered clothing and everything, and he calls it a unseelie fairy. And apparently the territory that they are in at this moment is the unseelie territory.
This book is trope heavy.
And it's just like this thing basically finds the little butter fairy thing and just fucking explodes its shit, like fucks it up. So she gets pissed off like by seeing this and runs and picks up his club and fucking like hits him in the face with it. So then he's like, oh okay, now you've done it. So he kind of makes it look like sport, like he's going in and he's gonna kill her. And she pulls out a dagger that she had from the house. They kind of get into that just a little bit, that apparently the woods by the house was dangerous and she had a knife on her. So then her and this thing get into combat. She doesn't know how to fight at all. She gets cut in the hand and she's like kind of panicking. And she ends up getting the upper hand on this thing and just knocks its helmet off and stabs it right in the face. And after that, she starts kind of like looking like she's in pain. And out from her back, wings pop up, and that's how the first issue ends. It ends with her growing these wings and saying that she's one step closer to being home. But it was a pretty badass book.
Nice.
Like I didn't know what to think about it. I thought the cover looked awesome. The premise from what I read from the previews was really good. So I mean, it interested me enough to sign up for it, and it actually ended up being my book of the week.
That's awesome.
And the art in it was really well done. I just really enjoyed the book.
So I thought I'd recognize the name of the writer. She wrote another series from Boom called Lady Castle. That was really good.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
I'm glad you looked it up because I read the book as well. The name looked super familiar to me, but I could not place it. So
Yeah. She's done a lot of work for Boom. I think she's written some Adventure Time comics too.
Huh.
So not Adventure Time, I don't read those, but Lady Castle was dope.
So yeah, Boom Studios, Sparrowhawk, go check it out if you can, guys.
Very cool. All right, well, I'm slightly disappointed because I'm a Marvel zombie and we're not reading any Marvel this week because I didn't read one either. I read one. I read lots of them, but I didn't want to talk about it.
I only bought one book.
I mean, that's fair. But the book I want to talk about this week is a new #1 from Image Comics that just came out. And it's called Dead Rabbits, and it's written by Jerry Duggan. We spoke a lot about him earlier in some of the stuff that he's going to be writing for Marvel, stuff that he's been writing for Marvel. The art is by John McCrae, the color is by Mike Spicer, and the lettering's by Joe Sabino, Mr. Joe Sabino, who is actually doesn't get nearly enough credit for being an awesome letterer. I see his name all the time, and you never think about lettering until you see it messed up. But he's quality. He's a great letterer.
Pay attention to your letters.
Yeah.
One of them might be the next dance guy.
No, absolutely.
For sure.
All right, so this is the story of Martin, who is a former, he kind of equal parts criminal and anti-hero who operated under the name Dead Rabbits, where the title comes from. In his day, he was a menace. He was just a menace. He stole from criminals and cash-rich businesses the same. He was an equal opportunity guy. He just didn't care. He just wanted money and took it where he could. He was really, really brutal. Seriously brutal. The man he'd probably be considered armed and dangerous by just having fists. What he could just kind of this Boston brawler. This it's not a kung fu book, but just this waspy dude who beat you down in the middle of the street.
Good old fisticuffs.
Yeah, but now he's retired. He's gotten older. The exploits of the Dead Rabbit, they're becoming something of a local legend. The amount of money he stole kind of grows up every year. The book opens by a reporter kind of rehashing it as like a "where are they now" kind of thing. And no one knows if he was killed, if he got flipped by one of his contacts. Is he living as a king on his own island by these millions and millions and millions that he stole? No one really knows. Some folks are kind of glad to see him gone. Others miss the excitement that he brought to the local news. And others just kind of want their money back because he stole a lot of it. What no one really expects is what appears to be the truth, that Martin and the Dead Rabbit, by all appearances, has retired to kind of a quiet existence in suburbia. He spends his days helping his wheelchair-bound wife around the house. He cooks by the way of microwaving foods. He's not a good cook, so she obviously doesn't like it. And he shits standing up because his hemorrhoids are butt-fucking him to death, which was an amazing panel in the book.
As they could.
They're not fun. He even goes out to play golf a few times a week. Except Martin hates golf, and he actually doesn't go play golf. Where the book really gets into the story is that he isn't really retired. Martin, the Dead Rabbit, has began leading this kind of secret life in his retirement that he's hiding from everyone, including his wife, who up to this point has known about the fact that he was the Dead Rabbit. There's this underline of him sneaking around and operating in a way that he's not proud of. Unbeknownst to everyone, his wife, his neighbors, and everyone else, Martin has come out of retirement because times are hard. The medical bills of his wife have taken a toll on his retirement savings. To make ends meet, he's had to take a job doing some legwork for a really evil, soul-sucking organization, Walmart.
Oh no, not Walmart.
Instead of golf every day, he go. Well, they don't actually call it Walmart in the book, but they use the
I was
symbol.
about to say
it starts with an M as opposed to a W, and they use the little flower symbol.
They do that anime.
But it's iconography. That's what it's there for. It's supposed to make you think. That's what iconography does. Instead of golf every day, he goes out, he puts on his little blue schmuck, and he assists in the menial lives of strangers as they meander about getting the things that they need. Basically, the Dead Rabbit has sunken into the depths of legitimacy, and so it kind of sucks because he's usually this kind of dark cloud over the city. But old devils have a way of reemerging. While he's doing his job, he notices a man in the store buying, well, basically everything you need to take a human body and turn it into liquid and plunge it down a sink. So the guy's got acid, he's got snippers, he's got a saw, Dead Rabbit knows what these things are for. He put two and two together. And so, as the guy goes to check out, Martin kind of steps in and it's like, hey, we can't take cash right now. Something's messed up. This isn't my till. She had to go back there, so I can't get in it, so you have to pay with card. Well, if you're buying the things to commit a crime, you don't want to leave a trail. So the guy doesn't want to pay with card. But he thinks about it, and he pulls out his wallet a little bit, And he's like, nah, fuck this place. I'll go. I don't want to do this. I'm not leaving trail. That's how you get caught. He's not a stupid criminal. But Martin sees his ID, notes that he has an address. And a little bit later, Martin goes and tracks down the address, dons his old dead rabbit attire, sticks the hood on with the red X's over the eyes, and gets down to some really nasty business. So he breaks in the house, and what he finds is not one guy, but two guys. And they have apparently trapped these women, these undocumented immigrants. They're using them as some type of, some nastiness is happening. I don't want to come out and say that they're sex slaves, but that's a heavy implication that they're being held and chained up in this basement to the whims of these probable rapists or obviously very bad people. he wrecks shop. He throws, they're dead by the end of it. The dead rabbit's back because the women see him, and these women, like I said, they're undocumented immigrants. So they weren't around 30 years ago when he was in full operation. There's no way that they would be able to describe the dead rabbit, but they do. And so now the word's out. The dead rabbit's back. He's back in operation, and Martin's life is about to get extremely fucked up. He goes home. You're not a man of his age and getting in this type of brawlers without sustaining a fair amount of injury. His wife's like, oh, well, you don't smell like golf. You smell like blood and sweat. You're working again, and you know exactly what she means. She kind of has a seizure, and so that's where the book closes at. She's convulsing on the floor. The mobsters that the dead rabbit stole a lot of money from knows he's back. They're very interested in finding him to wreak a certain kind of havoc and get revenge. And this poor bastard's life is just really going to shit because he couldn't help himself. It is a fun mix of these tropes of like the Daredevil and Rorschach. You get these elements like these. He's not a super-powered individual. He's just a dude, and he's a dude that punches really hard. This book is very like Irish Catholic. It has that tone without coming out and saying it. I think Craig, you read this as well, right?
Yeah.
You get that feeling, which is fitting because McCrae is an Irish writer. McCrae is the same artist who he did books that like Hitman with Garth Ennis. That was McCrae. So this feels like a very Garth Ennis book. So it's almost the perfect art to go with this kind of story that Duggan's doing. His art reminds me a lot of like the old Vertigo style. There's talking about it earlier, 2000 AD. You get a little bit of a 2000 AD flair to it, this really European cartoon style. I think you see a little bit of Eric Powell style in this too. So I think there's definitely a hint towards that.
To me, it was very Eric Powell.
Yeah, I definitely felt that influence. He does a really cool. He has a really cool grasp of using the negative space and the gutters. McCrae just keeps getting better and better and better. I'm really glad to see him on a book that he can really put his talent into, and it works well with the storytelling. It was a lot of fun, and I really dug the news anchor trope. So the news anchor trope where you start a new book and it's the news anchor going through and giving you all the information and history. 90% of the time that gets on my nerves. I think that's lazy writing. This time it was used very well. It was used very well, and it really set the tone of the book. It was very comical, and it really wrapped up an entire world that this guy has created into kind of one driving force. Really well done. I'm on this book. I think it's wonderful. It's not a book that I really saw coming. It was an Image #1, so I wanted to check it out, especially because Duggan is writing it. But it's fun. I'm excited to see where this book goes.
Awesome. It was a good book. Some other books that came out this week that were good. Juke Joint, we talked about it.
Oh my God.
Really good.
Yeah.
Hey Caleb, how's that football game going over there?
How do you like your sports ball?
The sports ball tried to take over the show. And what was funny is I didn't even click on anything.
So Juke Joint, Lollipop Kids was really good.
I didn't read that.
Yeah.
It was the last book that I had to read before I came over here, and I haven't got to it yet.
It's a lot of fun. Border Town #2 came out. Also very good. I know you had a couple you read.
I mean, he was talking about Marvel, and it was I was hard pressed not to talk about a Marvel book this week.
Yeah.
As Guardians of the Galaxy Champions and What If Spider-Man were all really freaking great.
Death of Inhumans.
Border Town. Oh yeah, Death of the Inhumans.
Yeah.
Like I have never wanted a fucking Beta Ray Bill Lockjaw team up book before, but now I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 books from Marvel took us into Weird World this week.
Yeah.
Weapon H, and then The Amazing Champions by Jim Zub kicked off and took us there.
So question, I'm reading Champions. And I freaking love it. Should I pick up the Weapon H issues too?
They're just heading into Weird World, so
They, at the time, haven't tied into each other. There is actually a character that ties in.
I was wondering if that was going to be the tie-in.
I don't know. They haven't met yet, so I don't know if the 2 books are going to intermesh. But it would make
in both.
Yeah. Did whenever he went in, like, did it show him in Weird World and stuff? Like, did it change his identity like it did in Champions with all those characters?
No,
Oh,
it didn't. It didn't on any of those characters. So I don't. So Marvel is taking 2 books. They're heading in the Weird World. If the editorial team were smart, it would be very interesting to tie that in and make it a thing. It would make a lot of sense. I don't think they're going to do that. It's going to be disappointing.
Yeah.
But you should go pick up Weapon H because it's a really fun story. Korg shows up and he rides a bat with a battle axe.
I saw your post.
Well, and they're actually entering Weird World instead of through magic, through a portal.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a difference in how they're getting in there, so it's not affecting them the same way.
That was a great book, though.
Yeah.
And
That was
No one's supposed to know my name.
the Sam Keith Batman Max book was a lot of fun. Gorgeous art. So you would do well to read those.
Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Oh my god. Yeah. Cosmic Ghost Rider with them feels.
Yeah.
Like, I signed up for this book for some good comedy, and you guys got me, like, fucking over here a mess reading this book.
A little bit of the manga side, actually. My Hero Academia and My Hero Academia Vigilantes came out this week as well. So.
Yeah. I picked up the volume of My Hero Academia. I got to get it read. So.
Yes.
Nice. Well, all right. Well, let's move on and get ahead of ourselves a little bit. Let's talk about some books that are coming out next week for New Comic Book Day. I've been trying to use my phone instead of my computer so you don't hear the typing when I'm clicking on things. And so what I've got pulled up is actually like the information I need, but I don't have enough goddamn hands, and so I can't hold my phone and do other things, and it keeps falling all over the fucking place. It's very annoying.
There are
Pretty
tables
sure
on the sound.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
They don't.
No, they don't play till 7 tonight.
We've heard cheers and fans like 3 times now.
They don't play till 7
Change
tonight.
my
Go
mind.
Cowboys. All right. Craig, what are you picking up this week?
Yeah, I had one book, but I have a feeling it's going to be Gary Sean's book, so I picked a different book. Infinite Dark. This is an Image Comics book. Ryan Cady and Andrea Muny are on it. The universe has ended, except for 2,000 people on one ship waiting for a new big bang to happen. Yeah, so that's the book I'm looking forward to.
People on boats waiting for a big bang.
As they do.
Yeah. So I am going to get ahead of myself and tell you guys to grab the Immortal Hulk. Number 7 comes out next week. Al Ewing and Joe Bennett. Sean, Alex Ross is doing these covers, man. I know you love some Alex Ross, so it's at least look at it if you don't grab it.
I'm going to at least admire it.
Yeah, you should. You should grope it with your eyeballs. This is one of the best written Hulks in a long time. It's been a lot of fun. And so you're having a really good Hulk book where the Hulk is going up against the Avengers, who are trying to, in some way, step in and talk him. I don't really have much more to say than that. It's the Hulk versus the Avengers, and it's so far Al Ewing is proving why he's one of the most consistently good writers at Marvel in their bullpen. The series has been amazing, and I can't wait to keep reading this book.
My next week is Unnatural Volume 4. It's going to be wrapping up the current story arc. The first part is, like I said, it's supposed to be an 11-issue series. They're wrapping up with the recent events for a friend being murdered. And so things at the end of the story arc: murder, betrayal, blood, and shocking truth. The first story arc of Unnatural dystopian tale concludes with a bang and a few twists. So it's already shown how fucked up the world is, and now I feel like we're probably going to open up a whole lot more weird.
Yeah, it's been so hard for me to trade weight for this book.
Yeah.
Because it sounds so amazing.
It really is.
It's been great.
Sorry.
They're good.
I was doing
We're
stuff.
just making a show here.
I was dealing with stuff that's supposed to happen after they were asking for info from me. Venom number 7 comes out next week.
I'm so surprised.
Is that what you were
No.
talking about? No. Also, What If Punisher X-23, like all great stuff that I'm looking forward to. All Marvel too. What were you thinking?
Murder Falcon.
Oh yes,
So
Murder
that's
Falcon
gonna be-
does come out
That's
next
going
week,
to be
but that's going to be our
team.
roundtable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Around
We really
table.
have to spoil it.
It's true.
Get the fuck out. But no, Venom. I'm really interested in seeing what they're going to do after that first
I
story.
figured you were already talking about it, so I chose Unnatural.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I wrote multiple things down. But that What If Punisher, where Peter Parker's taking over he's basically going to be like a Spider Punisher.
Yeah.
And it just
But Flash Thompson killed him in the last book.
It's a what if, Craig.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Venom, just real quick before we get off here,
Are we the only
about
ones that are excited about what ifs?
I'm not excited about what ifs.
You're not?
No, this first what ifs, the what if.
The X-Men, yeah.
It
No.
turned me off of it completely. That
It-
was a garbage book. I
Oh,
didn't like it at
It
all.
bored me to tears.
It was a what if book, of course.
No, I like what if books. This was just not.
Yeah.
It did not make me happy. But hey, speaking of Venom, real quick, we didn't talk about it during the show, but you actually went and saw the new movie, didn't you?
Yes.
What do you think about it? Just real quick.
I enjoyed it.
That's
I
good.
went in with super low
I'm just
expectations.
kidding.
I kind of figured, like, with not having Spider-Man in, that they were gonna, do his origin a little weird.
Yeah.
So Eddie Brock, not really. I mean, they picked Tom Hardy for it. They had perfect opportunity, but they wrote his character really like soft-spoken and just, I don't know, timid.
Yeah.
Everything that they did with Venom's like origin and the powers and special effects were great. Not to mention the very, very, very last scene that they had after the credits were completely done rolling. Completely worth my time.
Okay. Very cool. Good to hear because we didn't have great expectations, but it sounds like it's at least a solid film in some ways.
$10 for an after credit scene.
I don't want to spoil anything because I know what the after credits
Oh,
scene is.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
I'll tell you guys if you want to know.
No,
No,
I don't want to know yet.
I mean, are you going to watch it?
Probably.
Are you going to go see Venom?
I don't know if
I'm
I'm.
not gonna say it, but like,
It doesn't have.
I'll
Okay.
tell you.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
I know what it is because John told me.
Tell me after we're through recording.
Yeah, sure.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Don't put it on the show.
All right.
Well, guys, I think that's all we've got today for this majestic Sunday. I'm gonna go home and continue to watch football since I got busted and called out on it. My Cowboys play tonight, so go Cowboys. If you can do us a favor, go on iTunes, leave us a rating and review. We would greatly appreciate it. It kind of helps iTunes know what we're doing a little bit and boost our numbers. It's great. Plus, we like to know how we're doing. You can find us. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. As you heard from the front of the show, we do a lot with those things, and we have a great time doing it. If you have questions, comments, and concerns, shoot us an email at southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. Come back for more, man. We're going to be back here next week, and October is a busy month for us, so we've got a lot going on. So I know...
Same nerdy time, same nerdy show.
Yeah, go forth and love some comics.